to silence and put away cell phones. If you need to step away or attend to personal matters, please make a motion to recess. For those participating by phone, please keep your device muted unless you are speaking. When speaking, kindly state your name for the benefit of those viewing the live stream. Tonight, department directors and managers will present their proposed budgets using the slides included in your packet. It is not my intention to review the detailed budget pages. If council wishes to proceed differently, a motion would be appropriate. 2 special meetings have been scheduled for departmental budget presentations tonight and Monday, June 1st. While I recognize and respect the council's role in reviewing and adopting the budget, I respectfully encourage council to focus its discussion on the broader policy and strategic priorities reflected in the presentation, rather than the administrative level details of individual budget estimates prepared by staff. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cottle?
Here.
Councilmember Graham?
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt?
Here.
Councilmember Crafton?
Here.
Councilmember Johnson?
Here.
Councilmember Rubio?
Here.
Due to a quorum, Madam Mayor, all members are present with us in chambers.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Cottle, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item of business is approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented by unanimous consent. We are now at persons to be heard, a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. Please note that this is not a question and answer period. Speakers may be referred to administration and items raised may be taken under advisement. Please come forward and begin by stating your first and last name, and if you are a city resident, comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Seeing no one, I will close persons to be heard. We are now on to item of business. Madam Clerk, please read the item by title.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is fiscal year 2027 departmental budget presentations related to ordinance serial number 2626, providing for the adoption of the annual budget for fiscal year 2027 and appropriating funds to carry out said budget.
Okay, we need a motion to enter committee of the whole.
Madam Mayor, I move that we enter committee of the whole for departmental budget presentations.
Is there a second?
Second by Councilman Johnson.
Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, we are entering committee of the whole at 5:03 p.m. Okay, the first is your administration department. This is going to be my slides. And on page 2, if you will look at the graph, you will see the expenditures where it has decreased in this budget. And there is no request for more people. Sarah, you gonna operate that for me? Sure. Thank you.
Since you're presenting.
Yeah.
So on page 3, council, you'll see for the mayor's office, the 2026 major accomplishments. Are there any particular questions?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
so on going back to page 2, you have a decrease in your budget. What's accounting for that decrease?
Ted.
Yes, Mayor. to Councilmember Johnson. If you, in the budget, you'll see that $15,666 in personnel, which will be, of course, when a new mayor comes into
Office.
office, they will have I think they go back to step one or
Correct.
in
Step
the
8.
budget, and then there was a $1,829 reduction in operation expenses.
Thank you.
Are
Go
there
ahead, Jenny.
further questions, council, on page 3, major accomplishments? Hearing none. Major goals, 2027 major goals, page 4.
Any questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So in the alignment with legislative priorities, goals, and initiatives, I'm assuming that rolled into your budget then is the appropriate travel to both Juneau and DC, is that correct?
Yes. Okay, any other? All righty, human resources.
This is always such an intimidating spot. Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. My name is Kimberly Green. I'm your Human Resources Manager, and I'm pleased to be able to present our budget for fiscal year 27. Overall, there'll be about a 10% decrease in our fiscal budget. This is due to reduced cost and benefits. I myself do not carry the city's insurance, so that's a large portion of the decrease. You'll also see a decrease in our legal fees. We've been doing very well on managing those. Expenditures was associated with the bargaining unit agreements will not happen this next fiscal year because we've completed all of those. You'll also see a decrease in computer software and maintenance and rentals. We do expect a slight increase for NeoGov renewal fees. That's our HRIS system, but overall there'll be a decrease there as well. You can see on our major accomplishments for this year, I've actually updated some numbers. So on the first page there, accomplishments, fiscal year to date statistics, you'll see that we've processed 651 applications. Every application that comes into the city, Human Resources touches. We go through and evaluate them for the minimum qualifications for the position as well as their education and experience. We've hired 50 individuals, terminated 58, we posted 50 requisitions, processed 58 terminations, and hired 57 individuals so far, fiscal year to date. Other major accomplishments you'll see as far as updating NeoGov, we've established some different parameters for our evaluations, which is being very well received. In safety, you can see we've made a number of accomplishments, including getting ACOSH, which is Alaska's version of OSHA, to come in and do facility visits for us twice a year. They're free of charge. They're non-penalty visits, so if ACOSH comes in and finds something that might be an error, if they made a visit on their own, we get an opportunity to rectify that and correct those. So that's a very proactive approach that we're taking with that. Our safety committee has been doing very well, so we're pleased with that. Councilmember Cottle, I'll apologize because I just found a typo on the third bullet there, so my apologies there. We're doing an accident tracker, which helps us determine where the accidents are taking place and why, which helps us reduce that. With the implementation of the Tyler EERP system, we'll be able to utilize a lot of the safety features in there. So we can help keep an eye on the safety of the city as well as give the department directors some tools to utilize and tracking safety and incidents.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah. Mr.
In
Johnson.
your accomplishments, you processed 46 terminations. I assume then by that statement is what you really mean is 46 separations or retirements and not 46 firings per se.
That
I
is
think a
correct.
better choice of words would be separations to leave that. I mean, if this goes out to the public, it might look like you just came in and were firing people left and right.
I agree, and I appreciate that guidance, Councilmember Johnson. We'll make sure that we make that update on our side. And then, of course, you saw that the city won the Alaska Municipal League Award for Innovation in HR. That happened this last year, and that was due to our establishment of the NeoGov system and all of those different components that go along with it. For 2027, you'll see what our major goals there. Of course, the Tyler EERP is a major component. Even though we are still utilizing NeoGov, those systems need to work together as far as what we're doing in NeoGov and how it translates to Tyler. So that's going to be a big goal for us this year. The payroll portion of the Tyler EERP goes into effect January 1st so that we have clean W-2s out of one system. So we're really working hard to achieve that goal. We have another software that was initially purchased by the police department. It's called Power DMS, and it is also owned by NeoGov. And it allows us to disseminate policies and procedures. So getting that up and running so we can send out things like the different policies or job descriptions. We're increasing our time that we're spending on our safety programs. As always, we're trying to expand that in conjunction with Public Works. And then you can see on our improvement employee and experiences, one of the items is working with the local 302, which has the insurance for the Public Works represented employees as well as the non-represented employees. Right now, that program is managed by the 302 Trust, and it's a very closed system. So we're trying to get some additional methods in there so we can assist employees with claims or enrollment issues. If you have any questions on my presentation.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. Going back to your first slide there, where you talk about vacancies and filling positions. What is the vacancy rate, for the city, and how many days on average is a position listed before it's filled?
So that's really going to vary, and Ted would have more specific details because he did the calculations for vacancy rates. But a position such as a police officer is going to have a longer days unfilled. And we do track that through NeoGov through different cities in Alaska. That is not so much due to the lack of applicants as it is the processing time that it takes to go through the officer candidates. They have a number of background checks, the different things they have to do, and that extends those vacancy days. Positions such as dispatcher, those will be a little bit fewer, but again, they have those longer background checks and processes that they have to go to. If we're looking at something like a finance position, like the accounts payable position that was recently posted, that's going to be about 20 days from the time it's posted until it's filled, not necessarily when the individual hires, because of course they have to give notices to their current employers or make moving arrangements or whatnot. But we can get a more defined number by category of position for you if you would like that.
That would be nice. And second question would have to do with policy, and I'm sure this is, affected by state rules as well, but can we post a position before the employee actually departs? Can we post a position when an employee says, well, I'm leaving in 2 weeks? Can we post at that time, or how
So
does that
we
work?
typically will post a position, the manager will enter the requisition as soon as we have a resignation in hand.
Okay.
So if we have somebody that's terminating, like for example, our previous HR specialist, Jonna Sinyowski, who you may be aware of, she's moving out of state. So as soon as she turned in her resignation for June 1st, I posted her position so we could get someone in. So it's just up to the department director when they would like to fill that position.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson?
In your major goals for the year, you are mentioning the software conversion of the Tyler EERP system. Now, I know last year we installed the software and it is up and running, at least in portions. What portions are complete? What portions are yet to be implemented?
So Jackie is our subject matter expert on Tyler. From my knowledge, what I can tell you is nothing is complete at this point. Financials are getting ready to go live here in July. Payroll is coming after that, and different segments will come on as they are completed, such as purchasing and those different things. Jackie, if you would like to add anything.
Yeah, so finance, the financial module, which is all of the GL, the chart of accounts, all of our financial software piece of it will go live July 1st. Payroll is set to go January of 27 for a go live. After that, it will be timekeeping, which is set to go live July of 27. So that'll be electronic timesheets and employee access. After that is permitting and licensing, which off the top of my head, I believe was a January 28 go live. And then utility billing following that, which right now is slated for July of 28 go live. But we would like to bump that up a little bit if we can. So that way we can only pay for the one software and not have to keep Navaline any longer than we need to.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Next up is the IT department.
All right, good evening, everybody. I guess, Sarah, you got this? Okay, there we go. Thank you. Those are some graphs. The first one, yeah, we tried to cut the budget a little bit. Mostly that's all operating costs. There was some savings in certain upgrades we did in telecommunications and things like that. The other graph, we got rid of a position last year or the year before, I guess. Pretty simple one. Major accomplishments. I've basically been doing a network restructure since I started here. We're just about done, basically all new hardware, all new design on the back end. We did things like in a lot of offices, all the network equipment was stuffed in a cabinet or something. So we ripped that down, put up a real network rack, kind of professionalized everything. That was part of that project. Virtualization of the legacy CAD system. It was about 9-10-year-old servers, which is way past their lifetime. So we did a thing called virtualizing them, which puts them on newer hardware. So they should be able to run until we get a new CAD system installed. And then just random security tools, new phishing programs, new training programs, things like that. We deployed a new website last year, and I developed about 30 IT policy and procedures, which still have yet to go out and be signed by everybody. So, major goals. There'll be more citizen employee access with the new ERP system, obviously, and our website is capable of doing a lot of things like renting a pavilion, which I think is all done by paper now. So I'd like to try to use the website more to accomplish things like that. We're also going to look at not changing, but allowing the use of like Microsoft Teams for council meetings to basically get rid of that analog audio bridge because it's horrible. So that's something that I'll work with the clerk department on here to try to figure that one out. There is subscription costs are going up. Some vendors have gone up 30%, 40%. It's actually quite crazy how much they're going up. We also have a lot of problem with vendor reliability and availability. Like we've had certain things been down for several weeks recently, and it's very difficult to get anybody to respond. So those are just challenges that we always face. It seems like things are worse than they used to be, but it's the way the market's going. And then those are a couple goals I have down at the bottom to kind of get done. The integrated access control system, we currently have 3 access control systems, which means if we give someone a badge, we have to program it into 3 different systems. That project is gonna consolidate everything into one, so we have one place to manage all that. So that's about it.
Mr. Gray,
Thank you. Number one, thanks for all you've done. Years that you've been here, it's made a tremendous difference in how we operate things. You know, one of the concerns that any organizations has, particularly when you have, you know, 2 people in your organization, is kind of sustainability. You know, if one leaves or one is on leave for a long time for whatever reason or something like that. In your organization of 2 people there, can your number 2 handle what you do while you're gone, and can you handle what he does while he's gone?
For the most part, yes. So that is why we've been focused on what's called like SaaS applications, which are software as a service. So you pay a little more for them, but there's less for a team to manage. So we can be a little leaner and rely more on a vendor to manage their software for us instead of installing it on premise, having to maintain those databases and all the extra servers it takes. So that's why we've done kind of a larger push to SaaS applications, because then we can run with 2 people pretty, not easily, but it allows you to run a leaner IT staff by going that route. So
There was a second question, if I may.
yes.
So one of the problems you talked about is you know, contractor vendor reliability, availability, and cost. Does the state have a purchasing program similar as they do for vehicles for IT type
we do.
things and for IT support, or I
Support.
mean, or are we just being singled out? They say, well, you're a city of Wasilla, you're a tiny little organization. We
You
don't
know,
need to get to you.
I think that happens sometimes, honestly, because we're not spending millions on a product, you know, but we're still using the same product. We just don't have the same. You get put in different tiers of support based on your organization size. So, you know, the state of Alaska might get a lot more support on the same product we have because they have a whole different team of people working on it. But yes, we do. All our hardware and software purchases are usually through the cooperative agreements like NASPO or Omnia, Sourcewell, things like that. So the purchasing aspect is good. The support is where it's a little more difficult. I've had, and support industry-wide has just been getting worse and worse and worse. Things that I could call in about 10 years ago, it now takes a week to get an answer. So it's just kind of a market, or this industry is offshoring a lot of support, and it's becoming more difficult to get good support. And you really can't even pay for better support sometimes. It's just everyone gets the same tier. So, I mean, yes, to answer your question, we do use a lot of the state programs, but when it comes down to just there's an issue, sometimes it's hard to get through, and then you know, finding contractors to do certain type of work can be difficult too. I've had people tell me that's just too small of a job, so they don't even want to bid on it or give us a quote.
So is that something perhaps an organization like AML, you know, which collective organization, 165 different local governments, might be able to help you with, if there was some sort of framework that AML could move towards some sort of more responsive agreement?
They do have some frameworks like that we have leveraged before to get some certain security consulting done. They went out to RFP as AML, got responses, and then they said cities in the state can use that RFP as their, you know, contract vehicle to hire somebody. So we have leveraged that, but it's something I could look into more. It's just, we think we find a good vendor, and it's part of the challenge, I guess.
You know, the city does have 3 seats on the AML board, you know, so if you come up with something, we will push for it to make your job easier and make people more responsive. That'd be great.
It'd be nice. I mean, I have worked with AML a little bit. I've been in some committees that we've talked about there's cities much smaller than us. How do they get things done? Or they're still using Yahoo for their email and things like that. So it's a struggle. So,
Thank you.
yep, thank you.
Okay,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
and next is General Administrative Services Department.
Good evening, council members. We're happy to present to you the general administration budget, and you will see that the expenditures did decrease a little bit this year, primarily in some advertising that we were paying that was hard print, and also some communications, which were like cell phones we weren't using. And then we did add a subscription to Citizen Serve, so we have access to the permitting online. But primarily, our budget represents kind of that strategic coordination hub that we work with all the departments to better understand how we can help them fund a project or how we can internally manage a project. And I think we've had some great wins this year. You will see that no additional staff is being requested. So some of our major accomplishments. So since 2022, we've been working with finance. Sorry about the graph, but you'll see that over the course of several years, we've had some success with federal funding. Even though the award notification might come 1 year in 23, we might not even get that till 25, but we do track those grants. And I think what's significant is with $33 million in grants, we've had a very small portion requiring any matching funds. And that's pretty great for our local residents. So the mayor kind of touched on it. We did secure $3 million in 26 for runway expansion from Murkowski, $1.9 million for the interconnect project. Even though they were awarded in 26, we still have not received that funding, but it is in the queue. Also, we are anticipating with 2027, there are some appropriations that have made it through the subcommittees, and that's for sewer upgrades, $7.8 million from both Representative Baggage's office as well as Murkowski. We did reach out to ADEC and we got some wins with some pre-approved revolving loan funds for different tank replacements, and Public Works will speak more in depth about those exact projects. But that is a great relationship that we've been able to pollinate to see what some of those advantages will be. And I know that we brought some legislation forward as we go through this process, from the questionnaire to the actual terms and conditions that they're offering us. And then another big win was the $9 million that we were awarded through some policy changes that we made in the FAA reauthorization fund that allowed us to capture some economic development funds for the airport. In addition, we did secure some projects under the MPO and the Safe Streets. What I wanted to point out there is some of the safe streets were within our city, but they were within a school district. And so we were able to negotiate a zero match on that particular project. In other projects within the city, like over by the McDonald's, we have a small match that we have to meet. So you'll see that in the budget. Then how do these align with the legislative priorities? Again, we pursued the MPO and the Safe Streets. We're in our 4th year of our SEDS, which means we'll have to do a complete update next year. We worked with finance to complete a sales tax analysis report, and we'll be bringing that forward so you guys have some really good data as far as what does that sales tax look like and what are some of the different instruments we can use if you so choose to practice that. We also are in the progress of doing an airport economic impact analysis. That's something that Merrill Field and us have worked on to better understand what that perfect client would be, or what kind of client we should market. And also, what is that dollar that's coming in the airport? What is the denominator or impact it has on the city? And that should be complete by the 1st of June. And then really just trying to keep that I say high level strategy because understanding the agencies and understanding what their procurement or how you get the awards and what their reporting requirements are. There's some that have some sizable awards, but there's also a sizable amount of reporting that goes with it. So we're being very careful about agencies that we want to pursue funding with. Next. So some of the goals that we have is we've got to complete the 2045 comprehensive plan. We've been working with planning on that. We did form a regional partnership outside of the Matsu Borough up with Copper River. They're doing a comprehensive inventory of all the assets we have for upcoming DoD projects. So even though it's out of our region, they want to know what our the port capacity is, what our airport capacities are. So we are part of 7 other cities for different projects coming into that region. Continue to work with the mayors and the managers in this region on different concerns that they have. This is a 4th economic summit that we've had, and we filled the room this year, which was great, 115 attendance from all over the state, just not this area. We're going to continue to advocate local control. We've been in conversation with AML recently about the licensing for alcohol and how to look at or consider some first-class privileges of having the ability to manage our own licenses. They're interested in what we crafted, and so we'll be working with them to maybe bring that to the legislature this fall or next year. The significant budget changes, we've leveraged our relationships for some of the federal dollars, but it is an election year, and that's always happening. And then we've been meeting with the top 10 sales tax collectors like the Home Depots and some of the bigger stores to understand, one, let them know where the money is going. We're reinvesting into roads or what we're doing with that money, but then also what can we do as a partner to help your business? In what way can we be a better partner? We're going to continue to do the economic summits. We're going to keep doing the infrastructure tours for our delegates, our new employees. People find value in that. And then we're going to continue to build these strategic partnerships for our airport and DoD and different partners within the region and sometimes even out of the region. And I think the last slide I think that's it. Any questions?
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. Nice job, Crystal. Appreciate that. So 2027 major goals, manage the 2045 comprehensive plan, which is something we don't have. Do you have a target date for actually getting that through the council or?
Yeah, so Dal, their timeline is to have it completed by the first quarter of 27, and then we'd bring it to council early spring. So you're talking about a final deliverable about this time next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then the significant challenges here, you talk about the meeting with the top 10 sales tax collectors to share infrastructure investments. Are you also having discussions with them about how they can contribute to the community, particularly along the Parks Highway? There's one, lumber store that has crap that's 3 miles away that is blown out of their parking lot, about how they need to be a community partner and help clean some of this stuff up, as well as even the small businesses and the strip malls. I mean, we get their bags, we get their stuff in the ditches, and we as a community go clean that up, and the city ends up footing part of that bill. But have there been discussions about community involvement from some of these larger?
We have not talked to them about that, but we have talked to them about sponsorships within the city if they want to be a partner. We've also talked to them about not using their parking lots for storage. However, they understand shipping is a challenge and they have to put orders in October and it gets here in March. But we've never talked to them about cleanup or keeping their place of business as a good partner, but we should put something together for that, because I was just driving over there by Walmart and it's just full of garbage. All right.
And And I appreciate everything that these businesses do and bring to the city, but I mean, the city is more than just a cash cow for these folks. They're a community partner. And we should, leverage that partnership, not just by having them sponsor the parade or whatever, but by having them, take some ownership of what happens, due to their actions. But,
Yeah.
but I
And then
would-
just understanding where their expansions are gonna be, like what new services they're gonna do. So we can predict if they're gonna bring in more traffic
Exactly.
or use up more of their parking spot. So trying to build a relationship with them. But I like your suggestion.
Highly recommend that. Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Crafton?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Crystal. My question would be community engagement, kind of along the lines what Stu was talking about. And I know we had a conversation around some of the things that we learned at AML on engaging a little bit more of our local level community. I'm not seeing anything in here that works towards that. Does that fall under your purview, or would that fall more under Scott's? Or have you guys had a conversation around that?
It's been a revolving conversation how to get the community involved, other than raising the rates at the airport. That got them pretty involved. If you want to raise a rates for utility, we'll capitalize on that engagement too. But in general, it's how do you motivate the public? And Scott probably has the best recipe because he does fun events. He gets more response than we do about updating the comp plan. But one of the reasons that I think it's a challenge is you just have to be consistent, and that message has to be dripping every day. And you gotta have a process that everybody understands why you're doing it. And really there's an art to the message, how you deliver it, what channel you deliver it. And I know with the comp plan, the Dow Engineers has just one person that does the community engagement side. Same with the airport master plan. There's one person that does, they call their curator. They create that message that resonates with the public. If you have a secret recipe, let us know.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ted.
Ted?
One of the things, Councilmember Crafton, that I'm really a supporter of is as the new administration comes in and the council and they go through some type of strategic planning process or whatever, that citizen surveys are a way to get engagement too, through asking them, the citizens, through some type of process, what they believe and what they want to see in the city. So I'll just throw that out. Every administration I've ever worked with, I've been a proponent of those type of engagement outreaches.
Okay. And you're still here, Crystal, with Planning Department.
I drew this short stick. So, planning department is always evolving. We're trying to bring some consistency and efficiencies to the department. You'll see a little bit of decrease in expenditures as well. We still have the same staff associated with the planning department. Next one. So really the major accomplishment this year is to manage growth with consistency, predictability, and accountability. That's really, I tell our planning department, if we got to care first, we got to communicate, we got to be consistent. And those are very hard and big tasks to do. But we did complete phase 1. Thank you for going through that for Title 16. As Holly always reminds us, that was more procedural and clarity, and we're seeing some of that in action. Just how we put an agenda together for the Planning Commission has a lot of different framework to it, how we communicate, how the agenda is going to happen. It's been a learning process. The phase 2 will be the compatibility of our zones. We are 100% e-permitting, with the exception, we had a gentleman come in today, he does not own a computer, did not know he could do it on his phone. We showed him how to do it on his phone for a permit. We reduced our CUP process down to about 55 days. Some of that is we have some contracted planners. We set a time and a not to exceed, and we're very strict on those timelines. We have implemented a pre-application meeting for any development over 10,000 square feet. So before they even put a permit in, we want to talk to them to see what the intent is, what they want to do, how they want to do that. We did digitize all the city maps and put the new requirements on as 16 passed, and the downtown overlay was repealed. We took our historical documents and we have that in a virtual cabinet. So if somebody calls, we have access to it immediately. So the alignment with the legislative priorities was to update our comp plan. I don't know, there was some conversations on Facebook today about the role that the comp play is going to play in CUP approvals. It's not a plan that you really can use in permitting, but it's really not even a legal document for the state. What it does is allow us to have some guidance on how we're going to measure growth and have quality of life. Also, planning is supporting economic growth and infrastructure coordination. So if someone comes for a project, we don't just sign in planning. We go to finance, we go to public works. We're kind of I would say the bellboy right at the front of the hotel. We got to walk them through because we want to know utilities. Is this development going to be supported by water, wastewater? Are they going to need special driveway permits? So it's very collaborative. We have attracted quite a few investments in 2025 and 2026. We have about 500,000 square foot of construction we permitted. I'm not saying they're building it in 25, but it is permitted, and 26 is going, I think, probably at the same level. We continue to collaborate with the Matsu Borough and the City of Palmer. Matsu Borough has got Tyler already, so we're trying to have one place that you can go if you're going to develop in the Matsu, and if it's in the City of Wasilla, it automatically comes over here. Kind of like Problem Reporter for permitting. We're working on that, and really kind of be that go-to for permit, just the life cycle of a permit as it comes into the city. So they can see up to date, the applicant can see up to date where they are in the process. And lastly, some of our goals for 2027. We want to continue advancing the comp plan forward. Sometimes we get a little nervous because you just don't see the community as involved as you would like, but they're getting some really good results. They just had about 45 interviews with local businesses and local residents about the plan. Continue to coordinate with Public Works and on a land inventory and the airport land use. What's our plan for that property out there? And then initiate Title 16 Phase 2 after the comp plan is complete. Some of the challenges is the legal fees associated with implementing Title 16. It's hard to put your finger on what that looks like. We are trying to realign our technology subscriptions so they're really for permitting. So Placer AI is for traffic analysis. Today we had a permit, we did a traffic analysis, and that particular development will cause the traffic to be a problem. So we're going to try to mitigate that immediately before we approve it. Citizen Serve is our permitting map platform, and then maintain access for locates. Other than that, there's no other significant budget changes. We're going to continue to try to digitize maps. We're doing quarterly surveys about customer service, and then work with all the departments on the permitting process so people feel like we have the best customer service around. More importantly, we keep reminding ourselves we're not trying to add regulations, but we want to be consistent, and we want to make sure we're managing growth the way that the council and the residents want us to without adding additional costs. Any questions?
Madam Mayor.
Kathy?
Crystal, can you just remind me of when you expect the comp plan to be done?
It's going to be done about this time next year. The draft will be in January or February.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Crystal. At the planning commission meeting last night, Eric talked about quite a bit of time being spent on locates. And now I know there's a 811 service that'll locate gas and electric and telecom. Is that something that we could incorporate into the planning process to use them for locating our water and sewer, as opposed to having our folks go out and do that?
Through the mayor. So your question is, could we outsource that to a contractor? We can eventually. That's what we're building on, is maps that someone could use, and having my highly skilled operators out there doing locates is not a great use of their skill time. So we're getting to the point where I would feel comfortable where we could look at a contractor that goes out and uses our maps as we refine those. At the moment, we are the 811 responders. So when you put in a locate and say, I'm going to be digging deep enough, they'll tell us how deep they're digging, but we'll go out and locate right next to the gas, power, telecom guys, put our paint down. We do need to get to a point where we could outsource that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that would be great. I know for me, just putting in a fence, I mean, 811 responds quickly, which is great, but you got 3 different organizations out there locating, and if you're not there, or, I mean, you talk to one and you think, hey, yeah, I've got this under control, and then you come back 2 hours later and there's 3 new colors of paint, and now you're trying to figure out what's going on, but thank you.
And I wanted to thank you as well, Councilmember Graham, for encouraging us to reach out to AML. Our relationship with these planning support services is working very well. And they deliver, and they've got a timeline and a budget. Seems to work pretty well.
Mr. Johnson.
Madam Mayor, love the work on the airport during the last year. That was really significant. I see our budget is going down. Is this because we have unfilled staff of the city planner? Is that where the reduction is coming from?
Yes.
Do you want to answer that?
Through the mayor to Councilmember Johnson, yes, for personnel, we are not projecting that we will have a new planner on board till probably January at earliest, based on our previous times that we've gone out. So that is part of the cost reduction for planning.
So, Madam Mayor and the Finance Department, thank you. Is part of our recruiting problems the compensation level for this particular staff position?
I would look to HR, but I do believe that it is. Planners are a very specialized position, and down south, Crystal and the mayor could probably tell you that they do make they're pretty much at a director's level, I believe, on
They are.
salaries. I'm not sure what McGrath states, but that's my, what I believe.
So does the budget then allow for any, say we find a perfect candidate who requires a little bit more money? Does the budget have slop in it to go forward with such a person?
Again, through the mayor to Councilmember Johnson, the one thing that you're going to see is that this budget doesn't have any slop. We've, as you would say, we put in vacancy factors such as the one for this one. And if we would get the perfect person, we would believe that through the council and the new administration, or through the council and the current administration, that we could come back with and ask for the funds if we needed at the time. If we could definitely show the council that we found the perfect person for the position at a higher rate. And then the only issue we would have is whatever the salary schedule shows. If they would go over that range, then that is something that HR would have to discuss with the council too.
Thank you, Crystal.
May I speak a second time?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Does anybody else talk? Okay. Not having a city planner, is that going to impact the comprehensive plan deadline? Because I think city planner would have a large input into the comp plan. Is that not correct?
No, we have a good relationship with Dal, and they are setting some pretty good deadlines, and we are attending those meetings with them. So I think we can accomplish that goal.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Crystal. Now, Finance Department.
Good evening, council. As you can see, the finance department is expecting a decrease in FY '27 of $121,000 or 5.13% over the '26 budget. Our '26 accomplishments are mostly consumed of the ERP system. That has been our biggest project and continues to be our biggest project moving forward. As I had mentioned when HR was up here, the financial piece is set to go live July of 2027, and we are on target to meet that goal. We do have a few more kinks to work out, of course, as any new software does, but we are working with Coa Hills, our consulting company, as well as finance staff to get those figured out. We've made significant progress towards getting that ready to go over the last couple months. The payroll phase has begun to do its implementation piece. They started in January of January of 26. It will go live in January 27. And we have successfully implemented GASB 101, which requires the reporting of compensated absences and making sure that we account for those costs within our financials. Along with our external auditor BDO, we have successfully implemented that GASB pronouncement. We released a comprehensive travel policy this year, which transitioned employee meal reimbursements to per diem and also implemented a new reconciliation process for employee travel. So far, that's gone fairly well. With any new process, there's always bumps along the way, but it's been fairly well received so far. Our 26 accomplishment aligns with the goal of communications, engagement, and customer service, as it is our ERP system is allowing for better electronic service to our customers, both internal and external. And so for our 27 goals, we are still working towards those go live dates for the new ERP system. We are reviewing and updating financial policies as we have time. And we have conducted a sales tax analysis with the help of McKinley Research Group. They have built us a model which they will be presenting to you at a future date. For significant budget changes, we are asking for the addition of a finance clerk position to support sales tax and business licensing compliance efforts. We have not had a dedicated sales tax person added since 2015, and during that decade time, our revenues have almost doubled. We've had the same two positions trying to manage and maintain our primary revenue source. Our sales tax auditor has not been able to do any audits as of recently due to the additional workload of doubling our revenues and our licensing. We would like to utilize this position to assist in compliance efforts, especially as we are starting to see the sales tax revenue plateau. We would like to use those compliance efforts to reach out to those businesses that aren't remitting tax but should be, whether they're inside the city or just coming in to do business in the city. We have not had the capacity to do much reach out here recently or notifying of those businesses. So we would like to use this position to reach out to them and get them within compliance. As well as our sales tax auditor is in her last 5 or so years with the city. So we're also looking at succession planning going forward. hoping that this new position or our current position could begin to learn the tax auditor status or tasks as well. We are also requesting 2 reclassifications. We would like to take our finance clerk 3 position, focusing on payroll, into a payroll specialist position. This position handles identical confidential personnel information as the HR specialist. And this change would better align those 2 positions on not only our pay scale, but just our responsibility level. The separation of the finance clerk payroll to a finance clerk payroll specialist would also allow for more opportunity for growth within the finance department should a future finance clerk wish to move up and that position were vacant. The final reclass we're asking for is 1 staff accountant position to a grant manager position. As Crystal had touched on, we've had a lot of grants coming through, which means a lot of revenue, a lot of expenses to track. And this position would allow for enhanced oversight and management of the full life cycle of each grant, from the point of application all the way through to final closure. They would be able to track and work with our department heads to make sure we're in compliance with all granting agency requirements, especially the federal ones. They can be a little hard to follow at times, but we're hoping this position would be kind of our resident expert on everything grants. The position would also create a central point of contact for all grant activity, questions, and guidance. With this change, we estimate that about 80% of the salary for this position could be reimbursed through the federal grants. Right now, the city has approximately 20 grants that we could potentially seek that reimbursement from. We also are looking at increasing temp wages just based on 23 and 24 actuals and what we've used so far in 26. And everything else has seen a decrease with the exception of accounting and auditing, which is due to the 24 and 25 actuals being elevated. And rates, of course, for that are going up just like everything else. And we also anticipate needing a little assistance in implementing GASB 103, which is a new GASB pronouncement coming out effective this year, which affects the presentation of the enterprise funds in the financial statements. With our ERP system, we are really looking forward to having one central streamlined place for all of our internal and external customers. The citizens, once everything goes live, will have one login where they will be able to pay any bill they might owe to the city, whether that's for user fees, utility billing, if they want to apply for a permit, if they want to know about business licensing or submitting their sales tax. It'll all be one login. So it should streamline those processes for everyone.
Any questions, Mr. Johnson?
Imagine that. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for a good presentation. On page 22, your first page, you have an increase of 0.2 people. And yet on page 24, you have add an additional finance clerk. So I'm struggling with the 0.2. I'll
Sure.
cut the person off at the knees and I have, please explain to me there. I'm a little bit confused.
Of course, no problem. So we are asking for the one additional position. However, the allocation of 80% of that grant manager position makes it just the 0.2 increase.
Since the grant has not been given to us, even though we might be applying for it, wouldn't it be prudent to put the entire budget for the position in the cost into the budget with the hope of being reimbursed? Because if it's not reimbursed, then what do? Fire the person because we can't finance them?
Well,
So we're
hopefully
either
we
gonna
would
do
have
it or
to
we ain't gonna do it, in other words.
I'm gonna turn to Ted for that real quick.
The car. Through the mayor to Councilmember Johnson, we have several grants right now that grants allow a de minimis 10% indirect automatically that you can get, that we can go through and charge those grants. And again, we are looking at even our monies that we are stating that the city matches can be charged for utilizing those positions. And what we're trying to go or move to is that these CIP projects that we asked for or we're utilizing right now do have a cost. And we're trying to allocate the actual direct cost of these people to that, because you will see, I'm not sure which day next week, that we do have a project manager that we are planning to charge from Public Works over to the grants to airport allows for right now, even some of the staff accountant's position and some of the grant or the project manager position are already being charged to FAA grants because they allow direct cost to be charged to them.
So we're really having two people then.
We will have two people. I believe that about 1.6 positions will be charged to capital funding.
Yeah.
Okay,
Or
so
we
one
are-
will be effectively allocated to the finance department and one will be allocated to
From Public Works.
for CIP.
And those will be based on the actual hours that they put into the grant. It's just not an allocation. When you utilize, especially direct expenses, you have to do it based on hours. So right now, I believe our project manager is having to fill out a timesheet based on what projects that he's working on, which is, I think, a much better way to look at how you're spending your monies and how much is being utilized to manage those capital projects.
Eric,
Yeah, just to tag on to what Ted said, it's pretty typical to see an 80 to 90% allocation to CIPs when you have those embedded folks managing multiple projects. And your question about if we start to see a reduction in grants and we can't make the 80%, then finance will come back and say, mid-year that the allocation outside of grants needs to be adjusted. But they'll know that because the grant manager is going to be managing their own resources within each of those grants. But I really commend finance coming and asking for this because this is definitely a growth rung on the city's ability to manage federal and state grants. This is a maturation process, which is really important as we continue to get very good support from our federal and state partners.
Thank you for that understanding. I just am worried that we hire somebody and then down the line.
These are existing.
Can't do that.
These are existing employees. So if there is some sort of budget shortfall, it'd come back to the council. But
Yeah.
this is not new employees. This is my current project manager just reallocating his time to our projects. And this is the current staff accountant who gets a new job title as grant manager, which she's already doing. She's fantastic. So it's just a nod to what she's capable of. So.
we're realigning their job title to what they're actually doing.
And the pots of money.
Yeah,
How
and the
they're
pots
getting
of
paid,
money.
which affects.
So you're not adding more
Personnel line
employees. Mr. Gray,
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. So going back to the annual budget and FTE chart, it shows 2025, a budget of about 1.9 million, 2026, about 2.4 million. I'm assuming, scratching my memory here, and I didn't bring the budget book with me, but the majority of that was due to buying the ERP system, and then each year we have another 250,000 or so that goes into training and operation on that. Can you tell me what was that big difference between 25 and
25 and
26?
26. Well, the ERP is going through a CIP account right now, so that's not part of this. There was a buffer put into the personnel, which is a portion of it. We also had, we used Ted's services, so we had the consulting contract. We also had a recruiting agency contract to find our new finance director. That is all included in that 26 amount. I can look back and get you more detail if you'd like. I had not looked at the 26 at that before I came here.
From what you're saying, it sounds like there were some one-time expenses going into that, but yet the 2025 budget of 1.9 million and the 2027 budget of about 2.25 million. I mean, that's still a big difference when you're talking about, adding 0.2 FTEs. Where's that $250,000 going, or where is it intended to go?
So part of it is the one position we're requesting. We also increased the temp wages a bit, which is a portion of that as well. And then our accounting and auditing was increased. As far as the difference between 26 and 27, it is going down. So it's just the 25 to 27 is what you're looking at, correct?
Right.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm looking at the right line for you.
Which is a little over $250,000.
Correct.
Anyway, if you could be prepared to talk to that during when we pick things apart.
Yeah,
that would
I'll
be
get you
nice.
some more information on that.
Okay. And then last night in the planning commission meeting, Eric, I'm gonna throw you under the bus here again. One of Eric's slides, said that implementing this ERP was gonna produce a great benefit to the finance department as far as reducing the number of hours. I should have written that number down because it was substantial.
It was 400. And
400.
It's in next week's packet. It's part of the next week's presentations.
Okay. And then my last question, if I may, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Sales tax or business licensing compliance efforts, has there been some sort of analysis, and this is probably a TED thing, has there been some sort of analysis about what sort of revenue we're missing out on by not being able to chase down, potential, I hate to call them scofflaws, but folks that don't understand our sales tax?
Sure. We have not done an analysis on that as of yet. I don't know if McKinley can help us with that piece. But it's potentially something we can look into and get you. Yeah,
Okay, well, it's just something I would look at because you're looking
of course.
at, adding personnel to do that. So I'm
Yeah.
just looking to see, is there a
And the number
equivalent benefit
associated with
to
that.
doing that? Thank you.
Ted?
Oh, it's, through the mayor to council member Graham, we are projecting about 60 to 70,000 more at least in sales tax penalties and those type of items as we go forward. We haven't done like Jackie said, a analysis, and that's more of a McKinley type of thing, but
And I'm not looking for a $75,000 study. I'm just saying, has this been looked at to figure out, is there a
we
benefit?
believe that we will get another 20 to 30% sales tax penalties and interest based on the fact that we have someone that can actually assist the sales tax auditor in going out and ensuring that we're getting more businesses to actually register and working more closely with the compliance officer in those items. But again, it's based on just a projection right now of what we believe that we can see as we go forward. And I think, again, as Jackie said, the thing that does make me a little nervous as an administrator is the succession planning for that position, because right now, our sales tax audit manager, whatever Marine's title is that lady knows so much about sales tax that the rest of us don't, that we really need a receptor for that sales tax information as just like sort of water and sewer where you need an expert that has time to learn the code, and as the council goes through maybe and looks at exemptions again, have someone that is working side by side with this sales tax manager that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
Madam Mayor.
Kathy,
Jackie, thanks for your presentation. I really appreciate it. I have just a quick question
Sure.
about with reclassifying the staff accountant position to a grant manager role. Does the person in that staff accountant position now have duties other than managing the grants?
Yes.
So
she does.
then after you reclassifying, you do all your little shuffling around and stuff like that. Will that grants manager be working strictly with the grants?
They will be working strictly with the grants, doing accounting work that is associated with those as well. Our second staff accountant would then absorb some of those duties, which she's been with us a few months now, so she's still trying to learn. But as she gets her feet more wet, she would absorb those.
Okay, I'm actually really happy to see this as grant money gets tighter and grants become more competitive. Tracking every single item in those grants and making sure every I is dotted and T is crossed is so crucial to be able to, for moving forward with grants beyond those.
Yes.
And municipalities and organizations that get those grants, they build that reputation too.
They do.
And that's very important for future grants. So I'm really happy to see the move toward this. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Crafton.
Thank you, Mayor. Now I just wanted to make sure I understood with the changes to those positions that we are hiring a new person.
Just one. Yes.
Just one, because no, when Mr. Johnson was talking, you guys said we weren't hiring anybody. But I mean, the way the math works out, you guys are hiring somebody. And I mean, I do like the idea of the grant manager role, though, based on the fact that most grants have that leeway that you can utilize some of the funds for administrative cost of managing the grant. Why are we not doing that currently then?
We are not doing that currently. We have started to do it with one of the FAA grants for the project manager's time, but we have not taken advantage of the de minimis rate for administrative time.
May I ask why?
I know previous directors just did not think that that was necessary. But as far as any current ones, I'm not sure why, to be honest.
So we could have been reimbursing ourselves for the salary cost, administrative cost of whoever was managing it at that time. It doesn't require them to be, quote, a grant manager.
To be titled that.
They don't have to be titled that. It's just if the staff accountant is the one managing it, that cost we could have reimbursed part of their salary for that, or the administrative costs. Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm gonna refer to Ted real quick on that.
Through the mayor to Councilmember Crafton, in the past where we weren't having sales tax starting to flatten out, the philosophy, even way back when I was the finance director, was that we didn't need to, because then that monies could go towards the projects, right? So we did not see the benefit at the point in time, even though we could have probably utilized the de minimis rate through the history of these time periods. But again, as now we had much smaller capital projects too. I mean, as you could see through the last 4 to 5 years, our capital projects have just blossomed, needing more management, and especially as our general fund dollars get more valuable for the council to utilize for parks, for road plowing, for other things, that it's much more important, we believe now, to start utilizing that de minimis indirect rate or other monies in the CIP fund. I think we have 20-some million in there right now for management. And in the past, the staff accountants were more reporting and stuff, or reporting items and being a scorecard keeper in essence. And now due to CFR 200 and other new pronouncements for grants, especially on the federal side and the federal single audit, you need an expert. So this is what we're asking this staff accountant to step in, is even though she's already taken it on herself to start learning everything that deals with CFR 200, but also keep her knowledge set at a much higher knowledge, be the consultant to all of the finance director, the controller, and public works on all of these grants. So she's taking on the responsibility if we have, you know, non-allowable expenses, that it falls on her shoulders if that happens.
Well, the bottom line is Wasilla has never grown like it is now. And so with that growth comes all of this change that's got to take place.
I have more questions, but I'll save them for when we get into the details a bit more.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Jack. Police Department.
Good evening. Bill Rapson, Chief of Police for WPD.
Turn the mic on.
Oh, sorry. There we go. So, for me this year, kept it pretty simple. Lack of better words. You will see a decrease in expenditures, and I think a lot of that is based off over the course of 4 years, we're really to emphasize on updating our equipment to the point of where we felt pretty comfortable, where we can start not asking for those big asks that we need to start replacing. I think we're in a pretty good position to balance it and move forward at a steady pace, other than the big dramatic equipment that we've been asking for the last 3 or 4 years. For example, our ballistic helmets and getting our equipment updated with shields and rifles and all those things. We're more on a more consistent replacement plan. Can you take one back, please? As you can see, some of the increases that you can see in our budget this year is that I had increased some things that I feel is necessary. For example, like ammo. That considerably needs to go up, and unfortunately with the current events over the Middle East, it does have a direct impact on us on how we get our ammo and how much of that ammo that we can get. So kind of looking at the unknown in the next couple months, year, whatever's going to happen with that, I took the plan to kind of increase my ammo budget by a little bit so that we can kind of get a little head on it, so that we're not scraping around and coming low numbers where I feel comfortable. We can kind of get a little stockpile, for lack of a better word, depending on what the current events over there are going to do. As you will see, that I am requesting another position this year. The position is for one. I will be completely frank and transparent, is that there was more than one that I initially asked for. And it was a hard ask, just as every year that is a hard ask, but it's a well-needed ask to include with it. And how I got to that point is, we sit here and over the course of 4 years, we talk about our infrastructure of how it's increased into where we're at. The traffic increase, I watched the traffic counts go along the Parks Highway, Canon KGB, and it increases to 180,000 cars over a weekend. Our traffic collisions go up, and our calls for service go 24,000 to 26,000 a year. With that is that we can't, we are maintaining our minimum staffing, that we have started from back when I when I joined the force in 2006. And a lot of that is included with our detectives division has increased by one, which is they are full throttled right now with cases, busy. As you can see, the current events at the PD, take priority. And we're also, trying to, do our community engagement, and we're also getting stretched pretty thin about having the needs, for example, at the sports complex. We had the state wrestling tournament that had 29 wrestlers, that had about 5,000 spectators in there, and it stretched my department pretty thin on overtime trying to get any kind of coverage there. We had a graduation just recently, even with one SRO working, we had to try to get some bodies up there, and we were unable to support that because of our minimum staffing levels of where they were at. We continue to have the issues of sick leave, PTO, military, mandatory training, and all those things that take into effect where my sergeants are responding to calls for service where they're not supervising their shifts because they're handling calls, and my lieutenant and even myself are out there handling calls when it gets busy enough. One of the realistic questions that I ask myself when we look at this given is that it's reasonable to sit there and think of like, how can we approve a position when I'm not full? And I understand that question. I says, I'm not necessarily asking for the position now, but I'm asking for the position from a year from now and about having the foresight of moving forward. I'm currently down 3 positions right now. I have a lieutenant that's going to be retiring here in a couple of weeks, and then I have another officer that's going to be retiring here in the end of September. After that, I'm having 2 officers that are going to be slated for retirement within the 12-24 month range. As the infrastructure of how we're moving forward is that we know the timelines to get anybody hired here is quite long because I refuse to lower my standards. And the standards is what WPD is, and that's what we're known about in our culture around the state of our high excellence that we demand from our officers, and I'm not going to settle for that. So for us, I do feel like it takes quite a bit of time, even with a great CBA contract. It's recruiting the right people. We get applicants every day, but it doesn't meet the criteria of what we're looking for. And as you could attest from my personnel staff that are working there, we have a heck of a team that does a fantastic job, and that's what we're going to maintain. So as we move forward and we try to get those 5 positions hired, it will take some time, and those vacancies will be vacant for a while. Statistically, to even get 3 positions open, I'm realistically looking into probably next February and March before I can probably get somebody that's trained. And if they're a brand new recruit, it'll be even longer than that to get them fully on themselves. This position here that I'm asking for is to have that in the force, so that when we do have that ability to get down to the 1 and 2 numbers, that there is a need. Because I can tell you right now, there's a need right now, and that's the reason why I'm asking for it. I was invited just recently to last week to the FBI Quantico facility over there, and where I met with 55 different chiefs with agencies that are very similar to us. I was very honored to get invited over there, but it was a very well-informed class where one of the biggest things that we discussed was every department that I've talked to and every chief that I talked to is that they're having the same recruitment and retention problems. And we start comparing our city sizes, and realistically, and it kind of confirms of what I've been doing research for the last 3 to 4 years on, is that our department, with given the call volume, the traffic, the demand for our public safety here in the city, is that we should have sworn officers of 37 at the low number and 41 at a high number. Now that is a big ask. And I wouldn't ask it just to sit there and say, well, we need more bodies because you know what, we just need to be sitting around doing something, or, just to have more bodies on the force. There's a need with the amount of call log and then the amount of officer safety that these guys are requiring in each day and as we move forward. So that's the reason why I'm asking for that full-time position. And again, that was not the number that I initially come forward with. But I'm also, a business owner on my private side of things, and I understand how budgets work, and I understand how to have a balanced budget work. So I'm humbly asking for that one position as we move forward. Can you move to that next one, please? As you can see, some of our major accomplishments was, enhancing our investigative capabilities and including officer certifications. And I believe on one of my chief's update that I did just not too long ago, We have 44% of our officers that have an advanced certificate, which we take a lot of value in that. We are continuing education. We are turning up our higher level officers into leadership supervisory courses. And as we're going to continue to move forward with those types of certifications. We have conducted multi-agency active threat exercises. We continue to do community engagement. We have, was just recently selected as the APSC South Central host trainings facility. And we have a great CBA and then a new recruiting website. As we move forward to 2027, I kept it, again, big ask, but two major things that are important to me. For me, it's the officer position, and the second one is the digital modernization. As you can see in my CIP project, that I'm asking for an Axon digital modernization project that will enhance our video or in-car video cameras, our body-worn cameras, our evidence.com, our storage cloud, and getting us into the wheelhouse of being one company that can provide streamline evidence, streamline modernization, and ease the user ability out of how we move forward. In addition, I reached out to the Departmental law, who had just recently switched over to the Axon system, and they have a letter of support here from the criminal Angie Kemp, who's with the criminal law throughout the state. They just recently went to this Axon, and what that is that our cases, all our evidence, and how we kind of get our cases over to the district attorney's office will be seamless and be less personnel involvement with it, where it would be very hands-on and pretty systematic. Our local district attorney's office is moving to that, and that's where we're kind of going. We went with Motorola years ago. I decided when I was a sergeant to go with the WatchGuard system for in-car camera. It was kind of like the iPhone. I didn't realize that we'd be married to it by buying it for the first time. And it costs, a lot of money to switch over or get something new to it. But Motorola is going in a direction where I don't feel like it fits our needs, where Axon has, because of other platforms and other software technology that they have that I want to be able to expand in later as we move down the road. And what better way is to just gonna have to rip the Band-Aid off and get rid of Motorola, who actually bought out WatchGuard, and as we move forward. But that's basically my two major goals for this year, other than what we're maintaining, what we have been doing, and having the level of standards and certifications and the community engagement, what we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. For me, it's that in the position for the police officer, and really putting a lot of emphasis on and modernizing our digital evidence, our in-car cameras, and our body-worn cameras, where that has become a priority for us. And that is all I have.
Mr. Johnson.
Madam Mayor and Police Chief, at a recent AML, maybe it was a year and a half ago, I attended a seminar where the AML was presenting a police department certification program that was on a national level. Have we looked at doing any kind of a departmental certification for our department?
Yes, sir. What we have been looking at is that I've been looking at CALIA, or it used to be the Oregon, it used to be OPP, and it was Oregon, but now I changed into the Northwest, well, their accreditation program. And with that is that the state is currently looking at a policy software, which I implemented about 3 years ago, which was in Power DMS. All the departments have gotten together through the National Alaska Chiefs Association of pushing our legislators to support this policy, which ended up being like a Power DMS, to work on departments to get this accreditation through CALIA or another certification. We have already been working on that for the last 3 years. When I switched over to the Power DMS, that's been our revision of our policies that haven't been revised since 2014. The hope is that it will go through legislation, and then so that I can jump on, and then it saves us a considerable amount of money for a year from MPD. So we don't have to pay for that. So yes, there is a plan to get, the certification. It is very extensive. It takes a long time. And right now we're modeling our policies based on that accreditation so that when a reviewer comes in here, there should be very minor changes, but it's very intensive.
So, Madam Mayor, maybe just for visibility, for a goal, maybe we could add this departmental accreditation just for visibility going on
Absolutely.
along down the line. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Crafton?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. You came prepared for your ask on your additional officer. I will say you were very well prepared for that one. I believe last year you asked us for 2, if I remember correctly. Did we remove that one last year? Or did we
Removed one.
We removed one,
Yes,
gave
sir.
you 2 last year. I know you wouldn't come to us and ask us for 10, which is borderline what you would. It seems like you need. If you had, how many would you like to add this year? If you ideally could.
You know, being a budget, I mean, it'd be easy to come up here and give me 6. Realistically, it's not gonna, you know, I mean, that's gonna be so far. I mean, we're just trying to get the 3 hired right now. You know, ideally to get an extra body on each shift would be great. You know, it'd be another, 3 on top of this would be to get in there. So I'd be running minimums of 4 where I can have sergeants actually supervising, where it cuts my lieutenants, because I am going to be down a lieutenant for a while. There will be a process with that. So realistically, to get 1 body on each shift would be a huge jump, just to get in the operations of getting pointed in the right direction to at least cut down some of the call logs or the backups that we're having.
So that'd be an additional 4 total?
Would be an additional 3 than what I'm asking. So it'd be a 4 total.
4, okay, that's what I was trying to understand. Thank you.
Mark?
Well, I appreciate bringing this to our attention, especially when you know you have a shortage coming up. I know if you know we got a shortage of 2 to 4 people coming up, I think we should increase it another 2 on top of what you're already asking at the minimum, to keep it there. And I think even with the losses, that'll at least keep us maybe closer to being caught up. So I wouldn't be opposed if we
Statistically,
saw
what
an
I'm
additional-
seeing, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Statistically, what I'm seeing is that it does take a long time to hire an officer. And I try to have the foresight of coming up what's coming up. We have a large infrastructure that's happening in the city. We've had a large influx in the last 4 years. I was in Colorado for 3 years, and even the 3 years that I was gone, it was a quite extensive, big change from what I remember leaving in 2019. I see a large hotel that's getting built, and then there's another one that's coming right behind it. I see these retails that are, stores that are expanding on that. And really what was the icing on the cake for me is the amount and the amount of people that are utilizing the sports complex. It's a large number of people in there, and I have to treat it like a little mini city when you have 3,000, 4,000 people that are in here to use a venue of it. It's like my SROs, they're in a school of 1,000 or 1,500. It is a little city. It has its own dynamics in there, and there's an expectation that people are gonna come in here with 3,000 people. I have to look at the threats. I have to look at the traffic flow. I have to look at any kind of emergency preparedness, because as you can tell, people will do crazy things. My front door got the blunt end of that, a couple of weeks ago. And so I have to prepare for that. And even after that, it's just like, we got to go back to the drawing board. And I'm thinking about putting, posts up there to see how it is. It's disheartening that we have to think that, but it's not. That's the reality. And the reality is to sit there and plan for those, plan for the worst and hope for the best. And that's where we need to support Scott and his staff to be out there. I did walk, not in, I think it was the Lancer Smith, and maybe Scott can help me refresh my memory, but I walked that, and number one, that was some smells that I don't think I ever want to smell again. 2 is that it was something that was great for me to see, for the amount of people and how many people were laying around sitting there. And from a threat analysis, I thought it was an absolute nightmare from an officer response of how were we going to respond to this. And it was kind of one of those things of getting bodies there to at least be there. One does great, 2 is great, better, and then 3 is great, and then getting those people out of there safely and quickly as possible. That's our goal. That's ultimately the goal, what we're looking for. And I think that it's not that if it's already here and it's gonna continue to be here. And as these events grow bigger and the more people come to this community, look at the Guns and Hoses hockey tournament. That's a large turnout for that, and it has grown every year from as we move forward. So.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Nice presentation. Looking at your major accomplishments, your first bullet talks about expanding officer certifications. So kind of a question about expectations for your officer certifications. I know if you're a school teacher, you have to take, so many CEUs, continuing education units, to keep your job, and if you want to progress in your job, you have to do even more than that. Even realtors, for instance, to keep your license, you have to have a certain number of CEUs every year or 2 years. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but what are the expectations for the police officer? I mean, someone comes in either out of Sitka or on a lateral hire. What are their expectations for obtaining these certifications for them to either A, remain with the department, or B, be considered, for further promotion? I mean, our whole salary system isn't based on anything other than longevity at this point. Is there something that says, if you don't have a certain certification by the time you get to step 4, you might be looking at, going to Palmer or something?
No, we don't have any requirements of certification. What it is that we try to do officer and development growth. It's the APSC, which is the Alaska Police Standard Councils, will have 3 basic certifications. They have your basic, intermediate, and advanced. And they're all based on how many years of experience that you have, what kind of education that you have, and what kind of additional training that certification levels that you have. What we like to do is that, we're not a large agency. And a large agency, typically what you do is that you would have a patrol show up for a homicide, let's say, and then they would make sure that the world is safe, and then that they end up moving on to the next and better things. And here, what I really emphasize on is that we all work together, and I have my sergeants rotate through the detectives division so that each sergeant has the ability, because it's a different dynamics from patrol into investigations, because I want everybody well-rounded. We mentor a lot of young officers coming in here. They may not necessarily get a large or a major crime is what we call it, but you know what? They're going to be working side by side and helping out and as we learning. And with that, we also gear towards training of finding somebody that has that ability that wants to go do that. I'm constantly looking at, bringing up our officer 2 is what we call them. Those are kind of our senior officers, and getting into leadership courses through supervision, because I like to promote within. And that's why I ended up sending my 2 lieutenants to the National Academy, or to the command course. One went to the National Academy, and then one went to Northwestern. So someday that they'll be in this seat, and then someday the sergeant will be in then. So we're really working on growth in certifications to let them expand. And I think that that's why a lot of it that we have our retention the way that we do is because I'm investing into the officers' growth and development, and that they're able. We don't have a lot of movement. If we go to some of the larger agencies in the area, it's pretty common to move around to different divisions. Well, we don't have that. It's pretty common that, a 2-year officer with the mentorship of another officer can work a fatality, but it's the experience is what I'm looking for. Because if it drives something of what we look at it may spark something of an interest, and then they will start gearing their career towards that. I started my career as being a canine officer, and I went completely a 90 different direction with that, just because I was given an opportunity and I wanted to do it. And I still believe in that, where we will kind of navigate on where an officer wants to go. And we have the ability to do that because we're such a small department, and the lack of we all have to work together. So as the certifications come across, we have a vast field of certifications to continue on with their skills. Our in-service training of our control tactics, our required annual training through Data Master, or our firearms training that we do. Those are all in-service certifications that we maintain every year, and every officer goes through that.
Okay, and on the same subject, but a little different tack, when you do a lateral hire, you bring somebody up out of Colorado and you hire them, are certifications part of what determines what level you bring them in at, or is it purely a matter of years of service?
So I implemented a 1-for-1. And what that means is that if you're a 5-year officer coming from a different state or a different, even in-state, it doesn't matter. If you're a 5-year certifiable officer and you are a police officer and you have the requirements, because APSC will have certain requirements that they have to meet before they get their certification in the state. If it meets up, I will match them 1-for-1. And with that is that my expectation of matching them 1-for-1 completely changes from a 5-year officer to an officer that has 0 experience or 1. We get a lot of FTOs that come up and and I start utilizing them pretty quick. When they're done with their field training, you are going to step into that role of being an FTO. You're going to be a firearms instructor. If you were an instructor with it, I'm definitely going to utilize you. You're not going to be, at the bottom of the seniority and not utilize your skills and experience. I don't care where you come from. If you're capable and consistent on providing the training, then I'm gonna utilize that. And we're gonna work hand in hand with that. And again, we hired a Palmer officer that had 19 years of experience. He's in our investigation and he was a fantastic hire, and we brought over a lot of years of experience, and he's handling a lot of major crimes right now, and he's doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Crafton?
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, Chief, you brought up the door, so I'm curious. Is this budget gonna need to reflect
No. So
changes?
I just got the quote back today, matter of fact, and it was 53,000 to fix the door. It's gonna go through insurance. On top of that is that he will be getting some additional charges on that, so.
Gotcha. But the other portion to that would be, are we gonna need any additional barricading to prevent this from happening again?
That's a discussion I'm gonna have with Eric, cause the front sidewalk has heating element into the sidewalk, so I'm just cautious to sit and start drilling holes in that concrete. But that's definitely a conversation I'm gonna have to start having with Eric, and when we come up with maybe a solution or something that could work, or maybe it's expanding the fence all the way around or doing something, we'll kind of, you may see me again talking on that point. But right now, until we kind of come up with a plan that will be beneficial, we'll kind of go from there. So
at this time, not amending this budget, but maybe later in the year, potentially amending the budget to do something next
there
spring.
could be a
Is that what
possibility that you see something, but I just want a good plan.
Eric, sounds like Eric wants to say something. If you
I was
could,
going to
Mayor.
warn Mr. Johnson we may need some of his rocks at PD. So, but Bill and I have talked about how there's barricades. They couldn't drive straight at the door.
Correct.
If you saw the
I mean, you
video.
saw how they went around. That's what I'm saying.
Slalomed around the lawn. Yeah. So we have some areas we can tighten up. But I think we can address it kind of less expensive now, and maybe come up with a long-term kind of aesthetically pleasing way in the future.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to take a 5-minute recess. It's 6:42. We'll be back on the record at 6:47.
It's like, what?
Don't walk.
They didn't.
He was fast. Getting out of there.
Notice he sat right by me.
Steve, like, I'm out of here.
Okay.
Chief, did you want to, we moved the, slide,
Oh,
was that better for you?
yeah. Thank you.
Or, I mean, if you had more,
Huh?
is it easier for you? Or do you
That's
wanna-
fine. I got it.
Sarah, go do it. She was stressing that.
Okay, Steve, Chief, you're on to code compliance.
So code compliance, when I look at these, I did not do enough research on why my expenditures for code compliance went up when we got rid of animal control. And maybe Ted, you'd be able to help me out on that one?
Well, percentage wise, it does have a decent slope up, but really it's a total of 31,000 code compliance went up. And it's mainly in legal. Legal would be 50% of that.
Yep.
Estimation, and then just various small amounts. It's it's a one-person office, so there's no vacancy or any other cost changes. But
That's right.
legal is the majority of that.
Yeah, and the reason I brought up legal was to deal with a lot of the nuisance property that we've been having. Over the course of the years, we've been seeing our co-compliance legal fees kind of be very high, dealing with a lot of the nuisance properties that we've been dealing with, especially on a couple select few that have taken a lot of time to finally get situated. So anticipating that we're going to maintain that type of track forward that's why I increased it with, given the fact that we are reducing animal control coming July 1st. And obviously our no positions added for there. 2026 major is just successfully using citizen serve to track complaints, working with planning, finance, and public work for faster resolutions. Picked up our co-compliance patrol activity, be more proactive. Then we got them working with the crisis prevention team in here in the valley, dealing with the fact that he's coming across a lot of people that are hanging out in the parks, and get them hopefully resources that they need. And then we were able to utilize this year to get an e-bike where he has been able to, with weather permitting, to be more visible on a bike going through the parks, and getting out of the vehicle and getting out and making contacts through Wonderland and some of the parks in the area at the lake, and kind of going from there. Obviously, some of our major goals is getting rid of animal control is a great thing. Definitely looking forward to that. So that will be able to prioritize a lot more different code related issues and handle animal control things. So it's going to free up a lot of time for him to start addressing other issues that unfortunately he'll have to stop. And when we get an animal complaint, just given the nature of what that corresponds with and the time associated with that. So we're going to continue to abatement efforts for junk, unsafe structures. He was instrumental with Public Works team of getting the trash cleaned up over at Bellend Parks, and maintaining that stays clean. Working extensively trying to get some movement from DOT to get that where we have some enforcement action on that. So that has been a great thing that he's been working on, so that we were able to address that after numerous years of trying to get some direction. And then again, we're just going to continue to work with planning and public works for land use code violations.
Ted?
Oh, yes, council, and thank you, chief, for mentioning animal control. Still on. Is that at the time, since the borough had not passed their budget, it was still in our budget, so that is an amendment that either council can make or administration, is that we need to reduce that budget by 35,000. That's still in the 2027 budget. So thank you, Chief, for pointing that out. And that was my understanding, is that during the Matsu budget, the borough budget, that they did take over that power.
Okay.
Chief?
Yes.
One of your slides here talks about working cooperatively with the Matsu Crisis Prevention Team, which is a civilian organization, to provide support to our most vulnerable residents. I mean, is this taking priority over some of the basic code compliance? I mean, of the dozen or so phone calls I get every week, I bet 2 of them deal with code compliance, being non-responsive to phone calls and inquiries. Is it?
It's more of a contact when you're walking through the park of finding somebody that's sleeping out on a bench and getting them to move along, or to get them from sleeping there. And then if they're wanting resources, it's getting them in touch with the resource that could be able to help them out. So as for not returning code compliance calls or complaints, that I'm unaware of. If there's something that comes up that we're aware of it, then we can kind of look into it, but it's not necessarily a priority. It's just a priority of when he comes across that, doing proactive.
So when we talk about working cooperatively here, essentially it's just making people available, making people informed about services available in the facility.
And if they choose to have those resources, coordinate them to get in touch with the right people that can be able to help them all out more than what we can.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
One quick question.
Oh, sorry.
Just curious, Chief, is the code compliance officer a certified police officer?
No, he is not. He was at one time years ago, and I don't think he maintained his certification. And I don't think, that'd be a question for him, but I'd have to see if he'd want to maintain that, but I don't think so off the top of my head.
Okay. I just was a little bit concerned because about 3 months ago, I saw something where it was definitely a confrontation with a citizen, and I think he had to call another officer to make the arrest.
That's typically what we do.
Okay, rather than him just arresting the person.
He doesn't have the arrest powers to do that.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah.
Would there be an advantage to make him a fully vested police officer?
If I had a sworn police officer, I'd have more priority of operational concerns of what I need him to go do. Being code compliance is his thing, and to deal with municipal code, that's where I don't want to go into a sworn position for that. To deal with municipal code violations and land usage, it's kind of more of a civil than criminal.
Cost is about the same?
Mm.
Okay.
Eric.
I just wanted to kind of add on what Bill said. So code compliance used to be under Public Works, and it used to be under Public Works because planning was under Public Works, I guess, predates me. And then, but code compliance serves a really unique role. And the reason that it went back under PD was so that the code compliance officer can have access to dispatch and the internal data that the police officers have. And so the code compliance officer serves a role where he's out checking on things, especially like vagrancy. He finds people that have passed away. He finds, homeless camps that he calls support for through the officers, but they're responding to higher risk, higher response requirements. And so he fills this niche. When code compliance was also under Public Works, there were still park rangers. And what we ran into was we couldn't find adequate staffing for park rangers because they were dealing with aggressive people in the parks. And so you see this elevation of a park ranger who doesn't have much authority, doesn't have any way of protecting themselves, tries to interact with someone, and then, could get accosted. So they have to call for backup. So there's this interesting elevation of capabilities, but with that comes like to a sworn officer, that outfitting of a sworn officer is far more expensive than a code compliance officer, which is far more expensive than a park ranger. And so I think, as you kind of alluded to on the planning side, what happens as we go forward with the structure that we have? There's probably some discussion that needs to happen with that civil engagement that the code compliance officer provides. We only have one, and so if it's their days off, then those calls go unanswered until they're back on duty. And so as animal control steps away from that role for a co-compliance officer, there's going to be some more opportunity for the civic engagement. And I think as a council sees the improvements, but also sees underserved areas, it might be a discussion to address what's not getting done. Maybe through more staffing, maybe through part-time, something to that effect. But the parks are getting busier and busier as we have more people. The impacts of bad behavior bring code compliance and the police department to the parks more often. So there's just kind of that nexus, I think, that I've been hearing in the last couple of weeks as the weather got better. There's shenanigans, as we saw like out of Bumpus with the damage to the veterans, or the the baseball field out there. We're just seeing kind of this uptick in civil problems that code compliance helps us with.
Okay, youth court.
So youth court is gonna be a little dynamic this year. So, still not maintaining, well, right now, the reality is that we're having a hard time staffing this position. Where the decision was basically, we're gonna put it on hold for a while, given that it's a part-time position. There's some grants that come in from the state that comes in there, which I'm not sure what that is quite yet, but we've had a couple offers already and they both have been declined. The current, Krista, who's currently in the position now, she is retiring after pushing it off a couple times already. She'll be retiring in July. She was working extensively trying to find somebody. We've been in multiple meetings and trying to find a person that would be a great fit for that. The last meeting that we had is, given that it is a position with us, is that in finding a qualified applicant, it's gonna be put on hold for a while until maybe a little bit more better pool of people can get, maybe advertised out, or we can kind of promote or kind of recruit internally and try to find the right person before we hold it up. But we're struggling to find a position for that. And been able to I'm also looking at when the grant comes back from the state on it, because what I'm seeing is that it's getting to be more and more cost for the city, is that looking at not 100% changing the job description, but keeping the job description very similar to what the PERS position is, but be more of a juvenile youth outreach program that's in tap with getting less than of a probation officer type. But with that is gonna have to go to the drawing board to kind of see, without getting too far from what the current job description is, and how we can maybe change some things to make it more appealing, or change some description of really kind of what they are doing. So, with this position, as we move forward, it's gonna be put on hold for a while until we can kind of revamp and maybe change some things about trying to attract more qualified applicants. So, but that's kind of more of the 27. My other major accomplishments that they currently do, the Student Bar Association. I got to meet a lot of the kids just recently. Fantastic group of kids, great mentors that go in there and work with them. It's still a great program. The kids were a little bummed with it, but they understand trying to find the right person to fit that position. Worked out to DJJ, Department of Juvenile Justice, to make sure that, we still need to have those cases coming in, and getting a lot of those involved with those low level infractions that juveniles are doing. And so we're all working extensively trying to figure out how this program can kind of move forward, and still be beneficial for the kids that are participating in it. So, they were able to go out to the Nome for the annual statewide conference, which was delayed or postponed because of the typhoon that happened out there. And then they just currently participated in multi-agency cross-sector, coalition and juvenile justice things throughout the valley. So it's gonna be very sad to see Krista go, but after she, absolutely has her heart and soul into this, and she was trying to find the right person in there, really wants it to kind of maintain, and she's still gonna be involved and still be a person for me to contact as we move forward, and still has a passion for it. But as I get it, she is wanting to enjoy retirement, and we sad to see her go. So the biggest news for that is this with just trying to find long-term coordinator to take over the position to meet the standards that Krista had set and her predecessor. So it's really kind of all I have with youth court.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Chief, is
Oh,
there
sorry.
that's all right. Is there a possibility of setting up some sort of job share arrangement where some retired judges and stuff could participate in this without being full-time employees? I mean, retirement sucks because you're used to working 50, 60 hours a week, and then all of a sudden you're not working at all. So a lot of people like to pick up a side job, but they don't want to work, 40 hours a week. Is this a job is this a function where that might work?
Potentially, and I'm gonna have to refer to Kim with HR, given that it's a PERS position, and how a PERS position would work for, classification of who would be considered. Is she here to leave?
No, yeah, she's going.
Long-term, non-perm. I don't know how that would work. I know the state utilizes that right now with a lot of officers that have retired with they're not getting the PERS benefits, but they're considered long-term, non-perm. I don't know if that would correlate with the same as this with being a PERS position and how long that we can hold it for, or that's gonna be a little bit more in-depth conversation that I had to have with Kim on how that whole PERS rule would all work out.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Matcom.
Good evening, Lori Creaky, Matcom Communication Manager. All right, so as the primary public safety answering point, we receive all 911 calls that come into the Matsu Borough. This last year, we've been continuing with our high demand environment and working through significant staffing and technology modernizations. On the next slide, oh, I do want to. So, went too far. Is my FTEs there? I'm going the wrong way. Never mind. It's past my bedtime. So our annual budget and FTEs. As you can see, our revenue has coming up a little bit. We are working on our contracts with our public safety partners, and we have decreased our budget. Part of that is due to the vacancy factor. I'm trying to think of my wording for the vacancy factor that we have put in there and worked with Ted on. And then some of our operational challenges over the last year. We've been really aggressive on recruitment, but again, we continue to struggle with that. We get a few and then we lose a few. So we've lost some to moving out of state, some others that have went on to other positions. But there's just this week we've worked on, we've completed 8 dispatcher interviews this week. And so we're working to address those vacancies and maintaining our service levels. Unfortunately, with those dispatching staffing shortages, we continue to have a substantial overtime demands. We recently, like I said, lost the 2 dispatchers, and we remain committed to maintaining our required staffing commitments. Sorry, I'm blind. Our staff's been doing an exceptional job with these difficult conditions, and retention and training and staff development remain a major focus for us. I'm not asking for additional staffing at this time. However, we do have some contracts that we're reviewing, so we may come back for that here. Our major accomplishments for 26. We made a lot of progress in modernizing, training, and operational improvement. We've invested heavily in our workforce development. Just recently, we had a NINA instructor up, and we invited other area PSAPs across the state to join in on the CTO training, as well as supervisory training. We had 13 in one group and 14 in another, including 4 from MATCOM in one group and 5 in another group for our supervisor and CTOs. This is something that hasn't been done over the past years. The supervisor training's been huge to get them that level of supervisor training that they need to be able to just empower them and help them with the tools and resources they need. We've also added a peer support mentor program there at MATCOM. Priority dispatch, which is enhancing our call handling and protocols, is helping our new hires with being able to process those calls more efficiently and get through the training process quicker. We also are working towards our next gen 911 call handling equipment upgrade. That's scheduled right now for a September go live date. We've been working on community engagement and transparency. We have our webpage now on the city's website, and then we've been actively working on Facebook, not quite as much as I'd hoped, but we are doing some more Facebook posts. Alignment with our legislative priorities, goals, and initiatives. Working on building a skilled, adaptable, resilient team, again, focusing on recruitment, advanced training, and career development. Transitioning MATCOM to next generation 911. We've added new equipment, hardware and software, and again, enhancing the community engagement. We do have a couple of CIP projects that we'll be asking for this year. Our current one, the 911 call handling solution, is about 50% complete. We just have to finalize the training and get that go live date here in September. Unfortunately, it's running a little behind from where I wanted it to be. I was hoping to have it up by the end of May, but they're having troubles finding training staff to come up to Alaska and train. So it's like, it's a perfect time, it's May. We will be asking for CIP funding for CAD and our radio consulates. Oops. And then our major goals. Got some additional I wanted to talk about on here. So moving into the next year, again, working on our staffing, stabilization and retention, continued next gen 911 improvements, modernizing our technology infrastructure. I will be asking in this budget for a call handling, utilizing AI to help with some of those non-emergency calls and taking the stress off of the call handlers in there, the call takers in there now. Again, we're working on accreditation with our 3 priority dispatch protocol that we're doing with EMD, EFD, and EPD. So looking for accreditation and quality assurance. We have our quality assurance program up and running thanks to getting that position staffed this last year. I think that's it.
Mr. Graham.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori.
Yes.
So I don't see mentioned anywhere up there, Smart 911, which is a service that we pay for that allows individuals, like myself or anybody, to essentially load information into 911, not directly, of course, but to give that information out there that says, my house is green and I have 2 dogs and I have a elderly parent in a bedroom basement that's not, that's not mobile. I mean, it gives responders more information to help them handle whatever's going on at that residence. Is it not mentioned up there because it's a commercial service and we don't really deal with it, but I mean, it pops up on your screen. I mean, that information is there for.
It does. It's very underutilized because people have to go create the account, and we found that people just really don't create the accounts. Last time I checked with Rave Mobile Safety is the provider for Smart 911, and they were purchased by Motorola. It is part of our call handling package that we have that we purchased. But people have to go sign up for that program, and even with lots of promoting it, they don't want anybody knowing their information. Even on your cell phone, you can put your emergency contact information in there, and 911 could get that if you tell it you want to share it with us, and we would get that information, but people just don't utilize it. They don't want Big Brother knowing what they're doing and who their contacts are. But it's a service out there. It is available. We can see that information if the public shares it with us. And again, that's something we could put on our social media platform, to push it. But again, it's only as good as if people are willing to go fill that information out. And then you have to validate it, I believe, every 6 months to say that it's still accurate.
So would it be money and or time well spent to coordinate with the police department? I mean, when the police department or the fire department responds to a call, to leave some information behind about the Smart 911, so that if there is another call to that residence, there's information available there. I mean, we've done, the radio ads and we've given stuff out at the fair and,
Yeah.
but like you said, it's not working. I mean, that's really valuable information,
Yeah.
especially here in Alaska when some of these homes have 60, 70 firearms in them. And
Yeah.
associated cache of ballistics in there with them. But I don't know, if you could give that some thought,
Yeah.
I'd like to see the first responders have access to as much information as possible. And then, of course, your folks are the ones who decide how much information you're going to give them or what needs to be given before they go into the home. But
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
Madam Mayor. Approximately 18 months ago, we had an attack on our IT infrastructure that shut down 911. And apparently we were going to do upgrades to prevent such an attack from occurring or having an impact. If you remember that, we lost it. 911 for several hours.
Through the chair to Lori, it wasn't an attack.
That's what I was just gonna say. There was not an attack.
Okay.
There was a situation where the phone system, that was prior to me coming to MATCOM. I was still with the state level. But that was a situation with some software failure. So that was fixed. We've added SBCs, so session border controllers. So that's helped with that and mitigating that process. Just getting the new call handling system we are in the process of implementing, that will put in a lot of safety features with that as well. But there's always a potential for somebody to do something. But we hope, and Steve isn't here to say, but we work very closely with Steve and that crew, to the network guys, to make sure that we've got everything in place to mitigate that. So,
Thank you.
mhm.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Scott, you're up.
Good evening, Scott Bell, Recreational Services Director. Thank you for your time tonight. Kind of going through some of these items here. Starting with operating expenses. This year, we're projecting about a $95,000 reduction in operating expenses, about 4.5%. When you look at the graph, note FY26 looks like a downturn in revenue. What that is our budget was $1 million, but because we're in the operating budget right now, that looks like a downturn. So FY25, we did 1,772,000, and we're already past that at this point of the year. So we still have another month or more of revenue to come. So we're looking at right now about a 17% revenue over budget. Again, this FY26. Looking at FTEs, we don't have any new FTE requests. I do want to embarrass somebody or introduce Jason Bradford. Mr. Bradford is our new Sports Center manager. He has worked at the city and in the Menard Center for over 3 years, originally as an operator and then additionally as a Sports Center facility supervisor. So Mr. Bradford will be taking over that role. It's not for my budget, but again, real briefly, I can't stress enough support towards the chief's requests. When the facility again has 4,000 people, or we have 5,000 people, we'll have, during the wrestling tournament, for example, we had 100 campers camping overnight on property for basically 4 days. Graduations, exit took almost 40 some minutes for most of the large graduations. And again, we did 9 graduations in 5 days. And when the city only has 3 officers on duty for the whole city, for me be able to extract 1, maybe 2 officers has obviously a significant impact. And so as the facility that we are, the focus that we are, a lot of these events, we do have crowd management, we do have security, but it's not the same. And so I think any support that you can give that department has a significant impact on my department, and I support anything that you guys can do for them. So going to accomplishments. So again, we achieved our highest user revenue in Menard history. Again, 1,172,000, which was an increase of 15% over the previous year, their actuals. Our generated revenue was, the budget was $953,000, and we generated $219,000 over budget. So we generated 23% increase in our revenues over that. Our door count system was about 317,000 people. We were approximately 200 people short of our all-time record. It's not a perfect system, but it's a good system, and it doesn't include external use like the trail and the parking lot, which is used every day for everything pretty much. Big accomplishment again was the turf field. So again, we appreciate your support on that project. And our Learn to Skate is another example of just things continue to grow. During one session, which is, I think we had 4 classes a week for 7 weeks, we had 187 students. Again, another all-time high. So in alignment with goals, the feasibility study contract is kicked off, and we are beginning to forward data to them. And so our goal right now is October 1st to have that completed. In one area of partnerships, for example, MTA is doing naming rights, Matt Valley Federal Credit Union and the U.S. Army all have unique advertising packages above just like a sign. So that's been great. Again, we operated for the American Red Cross as a temporary shelter during the December windstorms. And we had recently set up an MOA with the U.S. Coast Guard. So if J-Bear ever has a problem as their backup, we're their backup, so that they could operate the Coast Guard during catastrophic situations. And then capital investment, turf field, parking lots. So the parking lot, let's talk about the parking lot. Again, we have capital funds to continue to improve that. We're on our fourth or fifth design because in the state wrestling tournament, just again, less than a month ago, there was 210 cars parked on Clap and Aviation because of overflow. So even with what we've expanded, we're still at least 250 vehicles short. So we're redesigning, reassessing how to spend that money, and that project should be developing very, very shortly. Major goals in alignment with our priorities. A big goal was again to operate our budget less than we had in the year before. Our approach was to work on the CIP projects that we already have on the books and not taking on any additional projects until we felt we could handle those projects. We do have an ask in there for our fire alarm system to upgrade that. And again, to continue to generate as much revenue as we can through our existing user groups and develop use of our off-peak times. Budget challenges, you'll see it's a plus and minus where we kind of again just went like you guys will. We did line by line of just how can we cut 1,000 here? Okay, we need to support something with 2,000 here. But over again, we did come back with a reduced budget. Some of those were included in staff costs as we're in 341 negotiations right now. So some of those projections are not in here, but our intent is to absorb any increases that we would experience there. We did put a little bit more in for temporaries and employees, which includes, for example, the ice skating instructors. So when you have 80 kids on the ice on a Saturday, you need more than 3 or 4 instructors. So that's part of our expansion there. And a great example of shipping costs, to buy 12 sheets of hockey glass costs about $12,000. To get it shipped costs $8,000 to $10,000. So we're trying to find some creative ways to get the materials we need. But when you're getting hockey specific stuff, everything's coming from Canada or Minnesota, actually. And then part of our efficiencies would be targeting and expanding our recreation facility asset management software and our Sub-Zero software to continue for the ice part, which is Sub-Zero, and our maintenance, and then the asset management, which would be able to track all our equipment life, pumps, motors, floors, and then to give you a life cycle so that we know what all these replacement costs would look like instead of hitting you with, I need 100, I need this, but then we can lay out pretty clearly the future in those expenses. And that is my presentation. Any questions on that?
Mr. Gray.
What a surprise, Scott. So you talked about, looking at another redesign of the parking lot here. Would it be wise to postpone that redesign till after the feasibility study comes in about, do we need to expand, what is the footprint of the Curtis Bernard?
Yeah, so the way I've reapproached it is we looked at the $1 million investment that you guys offered last year through the process to pave, stripe, seal, and just tidy up what we have. What I'm finding is I need land, and that might be clearing and using parts of the property in a way we didn't imagine. So going from asphalt, high expense things, I can get land clearing, I can get grading, I get D1 at a better value. And so I can get the footprint I need for the number of vehicles that we need. I can put in some temporary, if it's flow control and different things like that, where what we're looking at doing with the redesign would leave, quote, any feasibility study potential results of new buildings or new amenities or expansions or nothing. The idea would be that we would not go into spaces that might be the landing spot for some of that. So we're using spaces that wouldn't actually be used for anything else. But at least with what we're doing would get us parking to accommodate the load, hopefully for the next 3 to 5 years, because any feasibility study, any results are going to, or any action or finished product is going to be a similar time frame. So it's kind of the mindset right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scott?
So an opportunity has been presented to myself this year. The museum department is now under my responsibility, and so I will do a recap the best I can. I've been working with Bethany, our wonderful curator, to get educated, so there may be some questions that may need to be answered at another time, perhaps when we go line by line. But to kind of recap a little bit here on the budget for them. So right now, in working with Bethany, we've come up with about $20,000 cost reduction, or 4.2% reduction in operating expenditures. We are not looking at changing any of the FTE needs at this time. And some of the accomplishments that have occurred has been expanding exhibits, programs, and community events, increasing visitation and engagement, launched an advanced digital archives through Preservica, a large-scale collection digitation. Bethany, you're throwing big words at me here. Completed major conservation work and strengthened collection care through grant funding. And in alignment with goals, expanded exhibits, school tours, and cultural programming, improved emergency preparedness, facility monitoring and responses, and leverage grants, reduce costs, and improve collection management systems. And then future goals in 2027, strengthening community identity through exhibits, tourism, and public programming, improve facility resilience and collection protection, infrastructure upgrades, and environmental controls, of which we've kind of begun some of those items, installing a proper boiler. We're putting in an upgraded HVAC tracking system that also has humidity sensors, so that the collection, any moisture and things like that, can be detected properly, and then would trigger to the buildings department so they can observe what is occurring. So we're working on getting those implemented. Support economic development through tourism. And any budget challenges is, again, some aging facility systems, infrastructure, reduced grant availability. There has been reduced grant availability and increased competition for limited external funding, and staffing limitations and increased collection needs, including storage space and ongoing data records management. And then with operational efficiencies, develop new educational and cultural programming, increase access to local history through digital archives and online platforms, and implement updated procedures and data-driven practices to improve operations.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. So on your major goals here, support economic development through tourism and regional partnerships. You know, we've talked about tourism in Wasilla. Well, you guys have talked about it long before I got here, and we've talked about it ever since I've been here. And you know, Wasilla is not a tourist destination. You know, it's just not. I mean, if we're going to talk about tourism, I mean, we're talking about, you know, sending out to the, you know, the Iditarod Museum out there, and maybe to one of the lakes or something like that. But if we're going to point them in tourism, I mean, we're pointing them up towards Hatcher Pass. We're pointing them over to the agricultural development in Palmer and things like that, which is what they're looking at. So I don't know. I'm not. You know, we need to support people that walk in, but I don't think we need to develop a tourism specific program. You know, I mean, much like Palmer has people, I mean, they spend a month training before they work in their visitor center over there. But I don't think we have the same draw that do some other places that are doing tourism. So I would hate to see us spend any additional money, you know, that, you know, above and beyond what we're doing now to support something that just hasn't worked for 40 years.
Yeah. So, you know, understand that perspective. Part of it, again, I think if we look at the city of Wasilla as a whole, it is a collection of different type of assets that have different appeal to different people. And the museum certainly has a collection of some of those unique pieces in history. And tourism as a whole, yes, we're not that place, but the city has something to provide anybody that does come into town. And with, different events, activities and things like that, people do come here to look at different things. And I think there is a balance that we can look at, but if we don't invest in selling what we have and trying to improve what we have, then we're sort of in the wrong business at that point. And so I think we need to support what we have. But I understand your point, sir.
Thank you.
Bethany, do you want to say something?
May I, ma'am?
Sure.
May I, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bethany Buckingham Follett, curator of the Wasilla Museum and Visitor Center. While the Palmer Visitor Center, the Matsu CVB has been closed, we have been a tourism center. We have created 10 different brochures that show people what to do here in the valley, including Wasilla. We have created 3 restaurant guides, which includes downtown, east, and west Wasilla, because we have that many restaurants to direct our tourists to. We also have an RV and dump guide, so we all those those travelers that are on their own, not on a tour bus, we tell them the best places to camp. We tell them where they can dump. We tell them, which includes the Menard. So we are the center of those city services. So that is what tourism includes, because when you look at that tourism, most people just see the top of the iceberg, which is just the pretty views and the things to go see. But underneath is all the structure that is included to support those tourists here, which includes the accommodations, which includes food, which includes gas. And those are the things they're asking us about. So tourism is a huge entity, not just I came to a museum and I left. There's more involved in that. So that's what I would like to build with that tourism.
Yeah, and I understand that. I don't even know if I would call it an objection. My reservation is trying to turn us into something we're not. I mean, we have more of a visitor center than we do a tourism outlet sort of thing.
And we
I just hate
assist
to
with
see us
tourism.
trying to shift gears, when we've kind of figured out over the years where we're at and where our function is, and now that the new Taj Mahal is open over there south of Palmer, it'd be interesting to see how much traffic we get this year. So.
It will. I'm excited to see how they do.
Okay. Thank you, Bethany. Recreation Service Department, Scott.
Hey, I can answer some of these questions. So expenditures this year, we're pretty much again netting out where we were last year and what our asks are. And again, the 0.3 of me, it looks like it's remaining the same there, very flat there. So accomplishments really, I just kind of put this simply, is the program as a whole with what we're capable of doing and what we're funding. Any event that we put on is successful from my point of view, from either quality or quantity of people that are in attendance. And so we have a great menu of activities for the city. Best case is, again, that we can expand in a manner that we're not just so focused in on the 2 months that are really awesome. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I did put there the holiday Christmas tree lighting. It was accomplished in the sense that we had it all set up, we had it all planned, we had it all organized, but stuff blew away and things caught on fire. So
We're not burning baby Jesus this year.
exactly. Yeah. So, that's kind of an accomplishment. We didn't burn baby Jesus and we made, never mind. Is this still on? Sorry. Parks Passport Program, we continue to improve that as we go. And in alignment, again, our goal is to provide community events and activities that engage the population. And I think, when we look at things like the fireworks show of, 10, 12,000, the parade, 10, 12,000, picnic, 3,500, our music in the park is averaging anywhere from 750 to 1,500 people per event, that we have a nice collection of activities. and proud of what we're able to do and your support in doing those things. 2027 major goals really is just kind of, again, to continuing doing what we're doing. We've adjusted budget requests to continue to maintain the quality programming, but maintain financial controls to not overspend. I think we found a nice balance. We have increased some of the budget, again, to accommodate the size of the 250-year celebrations on 4th of July. And, it's the biggest challenge is really, again, we're operating a department with 0.3 staff member with the roles, responsibilities, and time demands of a full-time position, especially when additional responsibilities have been added. So, for example, I've taken on the parade also. So 4th of July's don't bother me. I'm busy. But again, the only way it can really expand is through contracting with partnerships, and that's kind of the direction that we're looking at this time. Any questions?
Mr. Johnson.
I commend your efforts in trying to hold your budget. However, as Wasilla grows, we've had tremendous response to music in the park and the 4th of July and the mayor's picnic. I mean, wouldn't it be prudent to add a little bit of money to increase the budget for these events, considering that we're probably going to have more people as we grow?
I think that'd be a fantastic line item discussion. My intention wasn't to spend money without you guys having a say. And so what I presented is, again, at least being able to do what we've done in the past with some additions and some changes.
Okay, thank you, Scott.
You're welcome.
Mayor, could I make one comment?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, Justice Scott supported the chief. I want to support Scott in an idea for the next administration to consider. We don't have a true Parks and Rec department. And I would really love if the next administration considers that, because what Scott hasn't talked about is the other events in the park that are permitted through my department, but we're not set up to give the care and feeding to those programs that Scott is. So he does the park passport, which is fantastic, but the true Parks and Rec Parks and Rec department should be thinking of the assets and the programs that are in it. And so just as Scott is crushing the numbers every year with the Menard, where he says, I've got an unused time slot. Who am I going to get in here? I'm going to go find someone to use my facility. Who's going to advertise on the Zamboni? Who's going to secure this wall in the arena with their name on it? Public Works is not structured that way. We look at infrastructure. We don't look at programs. And so we have people come in and say, where's Parks and Rec? We're like, well, we've got recreational services over here. We've got parks over here. I've got permits for the live action role play, the LARPing, where they're beating on each other with foam swords and stuff. That's 150 people that rent the Lake Lucille campground and facility over there. We have the archery group. So, Mr. Graham, you talked about tourism, where we kind of struggle with that. We are a huge events community. So the softball group has hundreds of people every weekend or through the week from different locations. They're not Valley residents. They're coming from Anchorage. They're coming from all over the state to use our facilities. And I think that's an important swelling that we see every summer. And then now with the winter events that Scott's put on, I would love for us to kind of recombine parks and recreations and have the staff to aid Scott so that he's not a 1/3 person. He has the staff to say, hey, nothing's happening on a Thursday in a park. Let's get more pickleball. Let's get all of these groups together and then come back and report to you, because I just don't have that visibility or the structure that Scott provides with his in-depth knowledge of events and facilities. So something for the next administration to ponder on.
Thank you, Scott. Zane, you're up.
Alright.
Good evening. My name is Zane Treesh. I'm the library director for Wasilla Public Library. And our budget also was looking for, we projected in for FY '27 a little bit of a decrease, about 2%, I think, is what it comes out to. Most of that, as far as this came from the supply side, where last year I had a little bit more in the budget for the converting to RFID. So we're finishing that up. That part of it, so we didn't have that in the budget going forward. And then also I think there's some insurance and personnel kind of things that were adjusted a little bit. But for the most part, we're looking at a pretty flat budget in most of the line items. FTE, we're still not requesting any more there. And then looking at major accomplishments, we did have nearly 108,000 people come through the doors the last fiscal year, and where I actually missed the number here, the close to 10,000 patrons attending programming events. It was up 1,000 more than the year before, so we were close to 11,000 people. That's in person at the programming. That's your story times, that's your adult spelling bee, that's the summer reading programs, any of those. That's our, we started a history night one evening during the each month during the winter months. So those all total up to about 11,000. So that 10,000. We're on track to complete the conversion to RFID. I have to have mention that our accomplishment is how well the staff has tackled this project and worked on it. We have, if you look on in the budget summary, there's about 70,000 books in our collection. There's another 10,000 media items, and every one of those had to be tagged with the RFID. And staff started that at the beginning of February, first part of March. We were closed for 8 days here at the end of April, first part of May, and they got it all done. The only thing that's outstanding is what's coming in that wasn't in the library, which already checked out during that time. So we're still looking at not this Monday, but next Monday we'll be finishing installing the security gates and the self-checkout machines to match up with the RFID. As far as our priorities, we'd like to complete the RFID conversion. I think we can try to streamline some operations and see how timing goes with that. It is we're using it at the front desk now, and for discharge, and it's staff doesn't want to go back the other way. It's a nice improvement. Our library programming, we're meeting more and more patrons. We're trying to reach more and more patrons with their needs. We council added, I think it was 2 years ago on that chart. When we did add our last position, it was for an adult programming position, and that person has been doing things like one-on-one IT support or technology support. So people can come in, they can make an appointment on Tuesdays, they can come in and get that one-on-one to help set up an email account or Craigslist or things like whatever they need help with that. We have a person that's there dedicated to that. They're also helping out with the programming for some of the other adult, the Reading with Chocolate in December, the Blind Date with the Book, those kind of things. So that's been a nice asset to have that we added 2 years ago, and we're continuing to add, for instance, the library history night programming for adults. Now, having said all that, there's only so much you can do with the same number of staff. So I'm trying to balance not stretching the staff too much. I think the RFID helps with some of our staff time, but it's not a end all. If we're looking at growth in the community and things like that, I think we need to look to the future a little bit down the line. But the information needs of our patrons there. We added about 6,500 physical items last year. All those our staff selected, processed, and then got out on the shelves. That's your books, your audio, and your video. Now, if you look at the total number, that doesn't mean we added the total number, 6,500, because we're also constantly going through to see what materials are being used, what's damaged, those kind of things, and removing those items to make room for things that people are more in demand or newer materials. So our goals, We're continuing to try, offer the programming relevant to community's needs, what people have ideas for, programming there. The RFID is a big part of what we're doing going forward as far as improving the patrons' experience. Just informally, the staff had mentioned that probably 40, we don't have any self-checkout machines right now that are set up. And there's probably, I don't know, 25 to 40% of the people ask, when are you getting those back? Because they like to be able to do that when it's busy at the front desk or just to be able to check out things on their own. So, but that should be coming in a week and a half. And we're continuing to try to select and use, based on our collection development policy and feedback we get from patrons, to get those resources our community is interested in, for their informational needs there. Some of the challenges, we're trying to maximize the use of the budget. The reality is things cost more. Our book budget is healthy, but we're seeing it get eroded by shipping costs. The shipping is going up so much, but I think we're between what we've been ordering and donations that come in that we take the time to go through and add things that way. A lot of our DVDs now come through donations, so we're not using that budget for that. So we're using trying to balance that and stretch the budget dollars as far as we can get it to go. Continue to maintain the building for the comfort and function of staff and patrons. And if you look 6 years ago or so at the repair and maintenance budget, it was significantly less than it is now, but we had a newer building. 6 years ago, the building was 4 years old. Now we're at 10 years, and there you'll see, I mean, the budget's maintained. I didn't raise it over last year, but that's one of the things we're trying to do is make sure it's kept clean, kept functional, and safe for patrons, secure, and we're meeting the needs. Trying to look forward with upgrades. We're just finishing an upgrade to the multi-purpose room. We had that in the repair budget, so we're looking at maybe doing video conferencing in the future, possibility. But now we have a better enhanced audio experience with microphones and things like that. Did have one of the challenges has been, and these slides were done, but raise funds for the expansion of the library building. We're still ECI has got the building designed and things like that. We're looking at trying to find funds, still looking for that, to try to stay on the track there. And then just operational efficiencies, different ways we can use the RFID to free up staff. Kind of mentioned some of these already. And then if we can expand the building, the RFID also allows us to have the expansion of the building would allow us to have a room to add an RFID handling machine that allows the patrons to have the items checked in and automatically sorted, similar to Eagle River or Lusac has a bigger version of that. And that's is the most efficient way to use the RFID, but it also saves time with staff, but also gets things on the shelf faster. Patrons don't, after talking with APO, Anchorage Public Library, their staff has seen a significant drop when they went to that system of people saying, hey, wait, I returned that item. Well, with this system in place, and when they put their system in place, when it checks it in, you get a receipt. This is all checked in, it's off your record, it's done. There's very little, as much room for error there. And I think the other challenge has been kind of allocating resources between the physical and the digital collections for the best patron experience, and the electronic resources can be expensive, but people like them more. You're looking at your ebooks, your audio books, digital, downloading those things through the Alaska Digital Archives, not Alaska Digital Library. And so we have money in the budget, which we upped that line item and took it away from another one to try to get more selection for our patrons there for the digital materials. So I think that's, wow, that is it. But
Mr. Graham.
Thanks. On your slide, raise funds for the expansion of the library building. How short are we with what we've allocated so far to where you think it's going to end up?
So well, we got 10,000 from the Friends. That's a couple weeks ago. They mentioned that. I've heard back from Murkowski that we were not put in their, allocation there. I heard back this morning that we had applied for the, Matsu Rural Transformation, grant, heard back. We did not make that as part of their, project that they were gonna move forward. I guess they had like 1,700 applications. I've been working closely, and the mayor and I have had talks with the director for the Matsu Health Foundation, and they are looking at moving the timeline. They had deferred it till January to make a decision. They've moved it up to this July. And then it would go before their board in August. Nobody wants to be the first one in with the money. I mean, it's just the way it has been. We'd asked them originally for $1 million, when they were gonna move it forward, 3 or 4 months ago, or talked about it. They talked about making it 500,000. At the meeting we had with, the mayor, the figure $1 million came up again, but until the board in August, the committee in July recommends whatever the amount they recommend to the board in August, we won't know what that amount would be. And then they would defer that payment until January, if they go through with the board there. So Rasmussen, at the beginning of August is when the deadline is to put in for their board meeting in December of this year. They did decline our letter at the beginning of, when we put in the letter in February, because of timelines. They're an institution foundation that doesn't want to be first one in. They like to have everything lined out before they jump in at the end with budgeting. Both Rasmussen and Matsu Health Foundation said they'd like to see more support from the city buying in itself. And it's kind of like I said, chicken and egg. Nobody wants to be first. And so right now, bottom line is we have $10,000 from the Friends that's guaranteed. They're pledged another $15,000, and I'm waiting to hear from the Matsu Health Foundation. And Rasmussen often follows what they do, but that wouldn't be known for certain until December.
An estimated project cost at this point is what?
The estimated project cost, the one that was January, the one I handed out, or that ECI had done in January, the estimate was 3.2 million. They gave me an updated one. That wasn't including the furniture, which brought it up to 3,300,000. Real close. And then they gave me an updated one just a month ago with their latest plans, and it came out at 2.99 million. And I was like, wait a second, it doesn't ever go backwards. And so I contacted them and I said, last time in January it was 3.2. Now you're saying 2.99. And they said, well, we're pretty, the people that goes through with the plans, they're more detailed plans. But then, and just when I was getting a little more, enthusiastic about that 2.99, he said, but because of how quickly things are changing in pricing the last few months, that you should factor in an additional 15% to that. So that takes you right back up to the 3.3, 3.4. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now.
Thank you.
Okay, Zane, thank you so much.
Okay.
Is there a motion to exit committee of the whole?
Madam Mayor, I move that we exit committee of the whole.
Is there a second?
Rubio, second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Crafton and seconded by Councilmember Rubio to exit committee of the whole, and the time is 7:57. We are now at audience comments, which is a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council. And seeing no one, I will close audience comments, bring it back to the dais. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to start by commending staff. You guys all did an excellent job. Of course, it's never easy to do, and just phenomenal presentations to our finance department and our consultant. I've been here for close to 10 years and I love the slides personally, so well done. Madam Mayor, to you and your staff. And then we'll see you all here next special meeting, which is next Monday at 5 o'clock, and we'll hear from our Public Works Department. And then we'll go over enterprise funds and the CIP funds. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff, well done. Again, I do appreciate what I've been calling the 30,000 foot overview here that we have for this. But I was a little confused showing up tonight, and it's not your fault. In years past, the department budget presentations have been the time for us to go through the budget. And I'm looking at the schedule that we were given by our clerk a while back, May 6th. And looking at this, based on this timeline, really the next time we're going to discuss the budget, not counting Monday, is when we move to amend. And the clerk is asking for our amendments on the 29th, and I understand that amendments can be made from the floor. That's typically a lot of times what ends up happening. So a lot of amendments get done on the fly. But that doesn't give us any opportunity to actually go through the budget with the administration and then a chance to digest that information and propose amendments after the fact. Based on the timeline that we're now given, we're going to have to amend this essentially at the moment that we're going through those line items, which has been a change. I thought this timeline was starting off really well, and to me it looks like we're going to need more time, because normally this half of what we did tonight was 3 hours alone. I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but that's what I'm looking at now, is that we're going to need more time with this. And it's going to be a very tight timeline considering it's June at this point, and this budget has to be adopted by the 1st of July, if I remember correctly. If I think the biggest thing is actually, if I remember correctly, what we did last year was we approved our mill rate. Granted, the boroughs already passed their budget, so I think that's besides the point, which I thought was really interesting this year. But overall, I appreciated the information. I just think this process was a little different than what I was expecting to see tonight. So I'm curious how this is going to get fleshed out over the next really 2 meetings that we'll have for this.
Councilmember Johnson.
I think it was a good meeting tonight. I do share Councilman Craftston's concern. Is what it really sounds like to me is we as a council are gonna have to spend an awful lot of time on our own coming up and being ready with answering questions, but it'll be little time to actually discuss it with the department. But other than that, okay, be it as may, June 10th meeting might be a real long meeting. Thank you.
Councilmember Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, staff. Really good presentation, well thought out, and I agree with the clerk. I mean, the slides were easy to read, and it was kind of nice not to have you guys reading your slides to us. It was nice to have a discussion, so that was good. I do have just one comment. When we talk about Senator Sullivan, we talk about Senator Sullivan. When we talk about Representative Begich, we talk about Representative Begich. And lately, when we're talking about Senator Murkowski, we're talking about Murkowski. I would like to see us show the appropriate respect for her position. Senator Murkowski has been, whether you agree with her politics or not, she has been very good to the city of Wasilla. And so as a personal aside, please refer to Senator Murkowski as Senator Murkowski. Thank you.
Councilmember Schmidt.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentations, and they were all very, very informative. Really appreciated the chief on some insight on what's going on right there, besides what we have on our presentations. But appreciate you guys all. It was very good information. Thank you.
Councilmember Rubio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got to say, awesome job on these slides. I would echo everything that the team is saying right now. You guys had a lot of good information on there and you worked hard on it. So it has been valid that we enjoyed the slides part of it. As for everything else going on with Crafton, homework is to be done outside for sure. And I think that this team is ready to put the long, hard work in. However long the next few meetings are, clerk, we gotta figure that out, maybe with some food. But I think we're gonna come to the table prepared, for sure.
Councilmember Cottle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, Mr. Bradford, welcome. Welcome to the city and our city family. Good to have you here. Staff did a great job tonight. Lots of great information. I have to say, I owe you all an apology. I did not intend to become the spelling Nazi. And it definitely, I don't think it came across the way I intended, but it came across the way I did it, and I apologize for that. So you don't need to apologize to me anymore for spelling errors, so sorry about that. Other than that, I love the way things have gone tonight. I love the format that's being used, and you all did a great job. I know how much work it takes to go into do these budgets. I've done so many budgets over the years, and it is a lot of work. It is, and I appreciate each and every one of you, and great presentations tonight, and I look forward to the rest of them. Thank you.
Thank you guys for a job well done. Maybe we won't have 16 meetings this time to get a budget passed because everything has been put on the table. Mr. Graham, I agree with you about Senator Murkowski. I've been friends with Lisa, and I call her Lisa to her face, and she calls me Glenda because we've been friends for all these years. So she does not take it as disrespect when I do that. But I agree with you. What she has done for Wasilla is tremendous. She has helped us get what, Crystal, 60, I don't know what the number is in grants, but she's been instrumental on all of these grants. And I'm with Mr. Graham, like her, hate her, whatever. She deserves respect. And like I say, she's my friend. And I don't care what audience I'm in, she's still my friend. So with that, thank you all for all the hard work, council. Hopefully we're on the right track. I would suggest when you're going through the budget, if you have questions on something, whatever department it pertains to, please contact the director. They'll be more than happy to speak with you.